gym. Oh, it messed up.
Oh. So we got to hold this in. Where's that button at? Right there.
Go ahead and
I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I apologize for the lateness of it. Right now, we will stand and have a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll move on to public comment. The Pickens County Library Board shall allow 3 minutes per speaker for public comment. A maximum of 30 minutes shall be allowed for speakers at each meeting unless time is extended by a majority vote of the library board. Public comment is limited to matters relevant to library business. Issues relevant to library business are defined to mean information about library events, issues that the library has the authority to address, excuse me, items listed on the agenda, and items or issues previously voted on by the library board or that the library board has the authority to consider or vote on in the future. The board chairperson may interrupt or stop a speaker if the public comment is irrelevant to library business, unreasonably repetitious, or substantially disruptive. No speaker may employ language that is obscene, scurrilous, or recklessly defamatory in comments that describe board members, any other participants at the meetings, or library staff, including their opinions, proposals, and duly constituted actions. No conduct shall be tolerated or allowed that unreasonably constituted actions. No conduct shall be tolerated. I lost my place there. Unreasonably provokes or disturbs another or interferes with the conduct of a peaceful meeting. Board members may, but will generally not, respond to comments from the speaker. We do have 12 speakers on the that signed up to speak, so I'd like to make a motion to extend the time period to allow the additional 2 speakers to speak.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, first one on the agenda is Janelle Rains.
I'm going to use my time to pray aloud. Heavenly Father, my prayer tonight lifts up the members of this Board of Trustees. Their decisions impact many lives and the future of Pickens County. May they be granted your wisdom as they deliberate. May their minds be clear to discern between good and evil, right and wrong, and the choices that will truly serve the best outcomes for minor children. May they seek guidance above all else and not rely on their own understanding. May they truly understand what prurient interest means. May they truly know how to identify material that is lewd and encourages lustful thoughts. May they not make decisions that violate our community standards for what is age appropriate for minors. I pray for unity within this board. May they listen to one another with open hearts and minds, setting aside personal agendas and their own personal pride. Send the Holy Spirit into their minds that they will reflect your will in all the decisions they make tonight. Inspire them, Lord, to lead with integrity and truthfulness. May their decisions be rooted in love and guided by your values of fairness, honesty, and justice. Give them courage to make difficult choices, even when those choices may not be easy. Protect them from self-interest and short-sightedness. Help them, O Lord, to plan for a better future that is aligned with your purpose, one that protects the innocent minds of minors from harmful ideas. Surround them with the Holy Spirit's wise counsel tonight. May all their deliberations and decisions bring glory to you, Lord, and serve the community they represent with the ultimate goal of protection of innocent minors. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Lou Kay.
Hi, thank you for this time. My name is Lou Kay. I am a minor, and I lead Students Against Book Banning, a student-run group based at Daniel High School. I first want to remind you all about the importance of the Miller Test. The Supreme Court's Miller Test consists of 3 parts, and whatever your personal opinions are, you cannot disregard the 3rd part. It is not optional. Pushing it aside, even at the behest of state legislators who are disregarding this law, is unconscionable. But this is about more than that, isn't it? This is about if we choose to allow our kids to learn about the world that they are going to live in. There is no porn in the kids section of our libraries or in any section. What is being removed are books that educate children about experiences that they will likely encounter in their lives. I point you to Looking at For Alaska by John Green. You cannot protect kids from everything. What you can do is allow them to learn in a safe, controlled environment so that they may make good choices when they are, inevitably, confronted in their lives with unsavory things. The world is not a perfect place, and preparing kids for that is essential to their well-being. The world has never been a perfect place. Not only is it important to educate kids about the world that they will be living in, they must learn about the world that they come from. As they grow, this generation must be aware of the darker parts of the United States history. To name a few, the horrors of slavery and Jim Crow laws, U.S.-run internment camps during World War II, and the Native American genocide. If we do not learn from past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them, and sugarcoating or hiding horrors such as slavery from our libraries is completely unacceptable. Only with an understanding of the mistakes of past generations can future generations learn to move forward. But beyond learning to be good global citizens or how to interact with their world, kids simply deserve choice. They deserve to read what they choose to read, and they are entirely capable of stopping reading a book if it makes them uncomfortable. Queer children, disabled children, immigrant children, children of all races, ethnicities, religions, and cultures deserve to see themselves in our libraries. Studies about queer kids show how important representation is, and that lack thereof can lead to mental health issues, severe depression, and not infrequently, suicide. A queer book won't turn your straight kid gay, but it could keep your gay kid alive. I am here because I truly believe in free speech and free expression, and that starts with filling our libraries with stories about all types of people. Whether you like it or not, we live in a nation with freedom of religion and opinion. What is right for one family in Pickens County isn't necessarily right for another. Our librarians are professional and trustworthy. Sources like booklooks.org are not. Please stand by the Miller Test. Stand with free speech and with openness to our kids about their past and their future. It is the only way we can move forward. Thank you for this time.
Karen Mims.
Good evening. I stand before you today as an active patron of our libraries and advocate for our libraries, librarians, and intellectual freedom. I spent the last couple of weeks in communication with several county and state librarians from South Carolina. I've done my best to study and research Proviso 27.1 in our South Carolina state budget, and I know that this has been a topic on a lot of our minds. While this proviso is vague and has created an uproar across the state, there are several points I wanted to emphasize before you today. I urge you, our board, to not relocate material in order to satisfy this proviso, and even in other circumstances in which someone brings forth a reconsideration. The mission of PCLS is to provide all county residents with access to information through the development of appropriate collections and services. These collections and services must cover the informational, educational, cultural, and entertainment needs of county residents. Our system has several policies in place that help meet the mission to which you were all appointed to help meet. I trust the work of our librarians and staff to fill our shelves with material that interests our youth and their families. Secondly, unfortunately, if materials were relocated, our doors would be open to violations, discrimination, and lawsuits over patrons' First Amendment rights. I'd also like to emphasize that this proviso undermines your work and role as a board member. By satisfying this proviso, you are allowing state lawmakers to undermine your control and the work you've done to set and approve our collections policies. And lastly, I speak to everyone in the room when I say this: we should not be getting in each other's way in access to material. Adults of children should monitor and restrict their own children's access to reading. Stop allowing other adults to dictate how you parent your own children and what your children and families have access to. Libraries are vital to our communities, and I know this is not an easy position to be in, and so I want to publicly thank our librarians for the work they do to ensure lifelong learning and literacy in and out of the library. If you stand for anything as a board member, I really hope it's for all of the patrons that you represent. Thank you for your time.
Kate Bird.
Good evening, members of the board. I come to you with deep concern about the direction our library could take in response to Proviso 27.1, especially with the pressure from a small but vocal group pushing for censorship under its banner. The proviso has created confusion. Its language is vague and subjective with no clear definitions or standards. The state library has said it's outside the scope of their authority, yet you're the ones being asked to enforce it. To be clear, you're being forced to walk a legal and ethical tightrope. On the one side is the threat of losing state funding. On the other is the very real risk of a lawsuit like the one already facing the Greenville County Library System after implementing policies that violate constitutional rights. The First Amendment protects access to ideas, even controversial ones. If libraries start restricting books based on vague complaints or personal values, that opens the door to viewpoint discrimination. And if those restrictions happen without a clear legal process, that's a violation of due process. And the lawmakers who passed this flawed proviso, they have legal immunity. If things go wrong, you may be held responsible, not them. This year's version goes further. It allows local legislative delegations to request compliance reviews. I attended the Pickens County delegation meeting in June, where a member of the group pushing censorship gave legislators a list of so-called objectionable books and requested a review. A FOIA request later showed the handout was riddled with false and misleading claims, yet it still swayed legislators. That's the kind of misinformation fueling this issue. To those of you standing by policy and supporting our professional staff, thank you. Defending intellectual freedom and the rights of all patrons, not just the loudest voices, is a stand for democracy, and it takes real courage. The tightrope is real, but it's the courts, not public pressure fueled by flawed evidence, that define the law. The surest path is steady. Honor your constitutional obligations, uphold your policies, and protect every reader's rights. Thank you.
May Anderson.
Hi, good evening. I'm 15 years old and here with the group Students Against Book Banning. I'm also a teenager who is proud to say that I love and trust my parents. Tonight, I'm here to highlight a few choices my parents made when raising me and how they shaped who I am today. My house is and always has been full of books, and that makes me lucky. If I had to choose a few words, I would describe our collection as diverse and eclectic. We have books about art, about wizards, comic books, and cookbooks, and essays about climate change. We're not religious, but we have a Bible. My parents are not afraid of ideas contrary to their own, so neither am I. They would also rather have me learn about difficult topics under their own roof, where we can have conversations about them. Over time, my parents taught me morals and values. They also taught me that other people might not always agree with me, and that's okay. Diverse viewpoints make the world go round. When I read a book that challenges me, I keep reading. Opposition only makes my opinion stronger, but if I'm truly uncomfortable, I can put a book down. For example, my parents don't care if I read a book where teenagers drink alcohol. They know that after years of being warned against underage drinking, one book isn't going to convince me. I am more than what I read. I was raised to have strong morals, strong enough that words on a page will not change them. Your child is a product of your parenting, not the books they read. Besides, YA authors aren't trying to corrupt children. Oftentimes, if characters are making bad decisions, they learn their lesson. In my house, honesty is the best policy. We trust each other. If my parents restricted my access to the library, I would think, do they not trust me? Can I not trust myself? Is my character so fragile that it can be shattered with a single book? because that's what restricting knowledge teaches teens. It teaches them that their identity is conditional, that their identity is based only on what they read. I am more than what I read. There comes a time for every parent to step back and trust their child's character. I'm not a parent, but that sounds scary. So rather than let go, some parents shield their teens. They hide ideas and they hide knowledge instead of trusting their teens to face differing opinions and act accordingly. I can't say, is that my timer? Okay. I can't say when every parent should let go, should trust their teen and their teen's character. That's a choice that should be made within the family. No one can make that choice for anyone else's family because this isn't a cookie cutter situation. We need to trust every family in our community to make the choice that's right for them. We need to have faith in each other. I can confidently say that my family is connected by trust. I hope that one day I'll be able to say the same thing about my community. Thank you.
Craig Holcomb. Craig Holcomb. Brittany Fowler.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Fowler, and I serve as the Advocacy Chair for the Friends of the Library. And I'm here once again because I care deeply about our library, our community, and the values that define both. Tonight I want to talk about Proviso 27.1 as an immediate and serious threat to the heart of what our library stands for. On the surface, the proviso presents itself as a measure to uphold parental rights, but what it actually does is impose vague, politically motivated restrictions on our public libraries. Restrictions that punish libraries for offering material that someone somewhere may deem inappropriate. And the consequences are very real, a loss of thousands of dollars in state funding. This is not abstract, it is targeted. It is designed to intimidate library boards and staff into compliance. It creates an environment where book relocation or outright removal is seen as a safer option than standing by the professional judgment of our librarians. And here's the truth. Moving books is censorship, maybe not in name, but in practice. When you begin removing or relocating books simply because someone is uncomfortable, you create a chilling effect that ripples across the entire collection. Today it's one section, tomorrow another. And before long, we're no longer serving the whole community. We're serving only the loudest or the most politically connected individuals. I am especially concerned that some members of this board may feel pressure to follow the letter of the proviso without examining its deeper impacts. I urge you to reconsider. As trustees, you are not just caretakers of policy. You are guardians of access, equity, and freedom. You are stewards of one of the few truly public spaces left, spaces where everyone is welcome regardless of age, background, or belief. Our librarians already follow a robust, recognized policies for collection development. Parents already have the right to watch what their children are checking out. We don't need new restrictions. We need board members willing to stand up for the professionals you've entrusted to do this work and for the public you serve. Let's not surrender to a culture of fear. Let's not invite political interference into our stacks. Be the kind of board that defends the First Amendment, protects the funding, and trusts in its staff to serve the full diverse needs of our community. I'm asking you to stand up and speak out against this proviso, not just with your votes, but with your voices. And please tell us how as a community we can support you. I hope you will be bold, be brave, and be on the right side of history.
Denise Davidson.
Good evening. Here we are again, begging to have porn and print books moved to the adult section. This is not book banning. Moving a book from one section to another is not book banning. Would you donate a book from the list of materials violating the proviso and removed from all South Carolina public schools? Would you donate this to your church for the teen, preteen, or children's section? How do you think the parents of these church children would react if they saw their child with the Flamer or the Perks of Being a Wallflower? I hope you're familiar with those books. In life, we have decisions to make. In the end, it's how we will be remembered. Did you vote to keep porn away from minors? Or did you vote to keep porn available to minors? did you vote to allow children to have access to these books violating the proviso and the South Carolina regulations? Regardless of what minors are able to access anywhere else, the point is, what can they access here in the Pickens County Library? This is your responsibility. How will we answer God? Will it be yes, I voted to protect children? Or is it no, I voted for minors to have access to books that blatantly violate state law? Our decisions have consequences. If just one innocent child sees pictures or reads from one of these books is impacted, was it worth it? You can't unsee what you've seen, and allowing access to this stuff, is it that important to you? You can either protect the children or pervert them. What will be that epitaph? Again, you have two choices. I also request that this analogy not be distorted into something other than what it is, to make a point that this emphasizes the magnitude of your vote. Thank you.
Jane Bauer.
The American Library Association survey determined that 70% of parents do not want books banned or removed for their children, and that 1,000 requests to ban books were made by only 11 people. Next year, our family will have been Easley residents for 50 years. With 2 children graduates of Easley High School, the library has been a home for us. We respect this collection, the administration, and the efforts made during this difficult time. Information cannot be restricted or books made inaccessible or banned. We must remember and examine history to fully appreciate censorship of information and written materials. Throughout recorded world history, there have been times of suppression of free thought expressed in literature. The burning of books decided as subversive or controversial has been too often occurring in history. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were South Carolina survivors of the Holocaust. They escaped Germany and Vienna with their lives in their 20s, and virtually all their family members were killed in concentration camps. Books were burned that the Nazis and Hitler determined to be too liberal or free-thinking for the German people. Religions separated citizens and allowed for scapegoats to be annihilated. Felix Bauer, my father-in-law, received an honorary doctorate from Erskine College in Music and Visual Arts. Martha Bauer was honored by South Carolina for her pioneer work with mental health. As a band director for 32 years in Greenville County, I saw the challenges of inner-city students in terms of family lives, resources, and opportunities. Many students did not have books in their homes, and the access to school and public libraries became critical. When we limit book collections based on religious bias, conservative ideals, we are cutting off necessary support needed by all students. Book banning or restriction harms access to information and limits critical thinking and intellectual growth. In summary, we must not let fear and the need to control others restrict access to information. We must nurture problem solving and imagination in our young people and teach them how to make educated choices based on information. We all need diverse perspectives and critical thinking skills in our challenging world.
Virginia King.
Our founding fathers quoted from the Bible more than any other source in their writings, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They prayed long and hard. They fought against England so we could have religious freedom and raise our next generations to be moral, God-fearing citizens. Our nation lived by those principles for almost 200 years, and God blessed our nation because of it. In 1962, we removed prayer from school and God from our children's education. We can see how evil and immoral our nation has become since then. Prior to 1962, children were allowed to be innocent until they were old enough to learn the facts of life. Some sneaked around and read Playboy magazine to get an eyeful of lust. Many of those children grew up to be addicted to pornography and pedophiles. Today, we have the internet, social media, and our public library providing obscene material corrupting the minds of our innocent children. Dr. Benjamin Rush said, "Teach morals or build prisons." Fisher Ames, "It is right, first to raise curiosity in our children and then to guide them." I heard someone say that we need to avail these books to children because our world is an evil place and they need to be made aware to protect themselves. I agree. Children do need to be made aware. It is necessary to raise their curiosity and then to guide them. Parents are to guide them and discuss with the children their curiosity. Children are not to be left alone to learn them in the public library any more than from a back alley. It is the parents' responsibility to guide them. George Washington said he was bulletproof because of divine protection. He believed that religion, morality, and knowledge were essential for good government. Benjamin Franklin said it is important to teach morality and virtue to abolish misery and crimes from society. These founding fathers, through their writings and actions, demonstrated a strong commitment to moral education as a cornerstone of American society and government. They recognized that educated citizens with strong moral character were crucial for a functioning democracy. Like the story of the frog in the pot, the heat rose so gradually that the frog didn't realize he was getting cooked until it was too late. As we look back to our great country's beginning and how vital Judeo-Christian values were to the cornerstone of our nation's birth, we see how far we have departed from those moral characteristics and how evil our nation has become by removing prayer and the Ten Commandments from our classrooms. It is time we return to those biblical standards. We can begin by you, our public library, removing immoral books from the children's section and adding them to the adult section. Thank you.
Peter Greenberger.
Good evening, Chair Osborne and Pickens County Library Board. My name is Peter Greenberger. I live with my wife and 3 children in Pickens. My mother was an English teacher. My grandfather taught English at Anderson College. The value of literature learning and great books was and still is a high priority in my home. My mother used to quote Shakespeare at the kitchen table. She told us that our choice of words defined who we are. She said thoughts lead to ideas, ideas lead to words, words lead to actions, actions establish our character, and our character would determine the course of our lives. It's shocking to me that intelligent adults can go through endless rounds of debate and discussion trying to decide if books claiming virtue with graphic descriptions of sexual acts should be accessible to children. This discussion has gone on for at least 2 years, and it's time to stop. There is nothing virtuous, uplifting, or enlightening about graphic descriptions of sexual acts and endless streams of epithets, expletives, and profanity. This serves no educational purpose for our children. In fact, for impressionable young minds, it's exactly the opposite. We all should know that. We in fact do know that. You have standards of conduct and decorum required in this boardroom which prohibit the use of the language found in the books which you've been asked to remove. And yet there continues to be debate and delay with taking them out. Please explain to me how this works. It's not allowed for adults in this boardroom, but it's okay for kids to be exposed to it? This also has nothing to do with freedom of speech or the First Amendment to the Constitution. The righteous claim to virtue and the slogan, "I read banned books," is nothing more than pithy political wordspin. Nobody is talking about banning the publication of these books. It's about protecting children from explicit sexual content. That's what it's about. The Pickens County Library System is here to serve the community, and it's about basic decency and community standards. What is there to debate about this? For more than 80 years, the Motion Picture Association of America has had standards for films specifically to protect children all across this nation. If a man and a woman go into a bedroom and start taking off their clothes, it's rated R or X, and children under the age of 18 don't get to see it. The film industry is not confused about this. Why is the Pickens County Library confused about it? You've been asked to remove 21 books from the youth section that Greenville County has already removed. I'm sorry. None of these have been removed. When the state librarian was here, she said that any books rated 14 and up by the publisher should be placed in the adult section. Why hasn't this been done?
Thank you. Your time is.
The board cannot claim
Julia
compliance
Pena?
with state law if simple standards are ignored. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Juliette Penna, and I live, work, and vote, pay taxes, and use the libraries in Pickens County. Thank you for taking time and care to understand your role as board member. Your role is now what it always has been, supporting the library director in her role directing operations of the library, creating policy, advocating for the library at the county level, and keeping the library within the law. To quote from the South Carolina State Library's own press release about Proviso 27.1, the South Carolina State Legislature passed a change which lacks sufficient detail for implementation. This change indicates a new requirement for public libraries to certify to the state library that their county libraries do not offer books or materials that appeal to the prurient interest. For the material to be considered prurient, the dominant theme of the material must be taken as a whole and cannot be parsed out in sections. Determining if material is prurient is subjective and varies based on individual and cultural perspectives and experiences. The change to this proviso requires additional guidance to ensure correct interpretation and compliance before it can be implemented. Additionally, the South Carolina State Library does not have the authority to establish requirements related to the collection development in public libraries. Collection development decisions are made based on policies approved by the Public Library Board of Trustees. The South Carolina State Library supports a robust, balanced collection of materials that represent the cultural and social diversity of a changing society and reflect the experience of contemporary children and teens. The South Carolina State Library and public libraries support a parent's right to guide the selection of material for their own children's reading and encourage parental involvement. However, the changes to Proviso 27.1 are vague, subjective, and outside the scope of the governing legislation related to the duties of the state library. This was from the state library's public relations. So they agree too that the language in that is vague and not appropriate. You have already addressed the stated issue of parental consent and control through your careful consideration of policy for the new library card system. This system allows parents to monitor and censor their own children without infringing on the rights of other families. It does not turn the job of parenting over to the library and its staff. You should not step further into censoring materials and programs for the entire community. Using Proviso 27.1 to appease a vocal minority could expose the library board to legal liability, including First Amendment violations, viewpoint discrimination, and unequal access for already marginalized voices. History teaches those.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving on to approval of the minutes.
Madam Chairman, we got one slot that wasn't taken. May I make a motion that we give Senator Rich Rice an option to speak since the proviso was mentioned tonight? Making that motion.
Do you have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion?
Rex, do you want to give a talk?
I'll be glad to address questions if you have them, but I don't have a prepared speech. I think everybody understands what's going on.
Okay.
So, if you need something, I'll be glad.
Thank you.
Okay, we can,
Okay, that's fine.
all right.
Just want to give them an option.
You ask me before.
We need to say all those in favor for the 3 minutes.
He just brought, yeah, I was gonna say,
No, I just was
are we still bringing the
suggesting he come
motion,
to
or
the
is it being
microphone.
tabled?
No, he's here, so we need to say all those in favor.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be glad to entertain any questions you have on this. I think the proviso is plain on what is discussed. I think you've heard from the state librarian herself. Lisa Aiken came up and talked about it. I would request that you look at these books very closely. I had a meeting with your head librarian 2 weeks ago and gave her a list of books, and we had a good discussion. I think we had a very good dialogue. She's responded to that. Gave me a letter that tells me where y'all stand on that, at least where she stands on that, not the board. We'll clarify that. But I'm here.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Was asked that if we lost our funding, that since this is a state proviso, not just a Pickens County proviso, Stephanie was told that only Pickens County would lose their funding, but no other libraries in the state would lose their funding if they kept the books where they remained. So is this a proviso just for Pickens County, or is this a state proviso?
It's a proviso that would affect every library in the county. I mean, every library in the state of South Carolina. Each library stands alone. Each library has to certify that they meet the intent of the proviso. So just for example, if Allendale certifies that they meet the intent of the proviso, and they do, and there's no question on that, Allendale would get their funding. If Cherokee said that they meet the proviso and it's determined they don't meet the proviso, then their funding would be withheld, but it would not affect Allendale. Does that answer your question?
Well, I just want to make sure that the other libraries in the state are aware that if Pickens County is required to move books from one location, the entire state is required to move those books, or they all will risk the chance of losing their funding.
Each county has to certify that they meet the intent of the proviso. If they do that and nobody questions it, I mean, that's up to them, that's up to their county. But if a county is questioning that, it's only targeted at that one county. So the only one county would be restricted on their funding until they meet the proviso. They wouldn't lose their funding, that would just be withheld until they meet the proviso intent.
Senator Rice, let me ask this question. If there are books that have been identified to be moved in this library, but they're present in the young adult section of another library, wouldn't that automatically put them out of compliance with the proviso?
Not necessarily.
And why is that? Why is it not, it's not making sense to me. If they're in compliance and we're out of compliance, how is that right when the books are in the same location?
Nobody's questioning that library as a whole. Now, if somebody comes back and says these books are I'm going to use Allendale again. If they're books that are determined to be out of compliance in Cherokee and Pickens or wherever, and they're in the youth section in the Allendale area, and somebody comes back and questions it, then they would be subject to losing their funding at that point, or having it withheld anyway. So yes, I mean, once they've been determined that, it could be applied to another county, but it's not going to be automatic.
Rex, is there a committee or some sort of a group that decides whether or not we're in compliance with the proviso or not, or that there's current material or not?
The delegation would obviously submit a request to the state librarian, and it would be up to them to determine whether these books meet or don't meet the standards.
The state librarian?
The state librarian, and I mean, how she manages that's up to her.
How would the legislative delegation work in the sense that, is it do you vote, a majority vote decides that books should be moved or not?
We would have, the delegation can write a letter along with the background for whatever we're going to look at and send it to the state library. It would be signed by members of the delegation, and it would be a majority vote of the delegation based on the signatures on that letter.
Rex, are you aware that the folks in the group that you're shepherding with regard to this proviso, they called us and asked us to take every book out of the library that even mentions sex. Are you aware of that? Are you aware that they're?
I'm not aware of that phone call.
Are
no.
you, that they're calling folks and saying, we don't want anything, there's no, kissing, anything related to sex, any picture, and even textbooks. They asked us to, and then when you challenge them, they're like, well, what good does it do?
I have not seen that communication. You asked me if I'm aware of it. I'm not aware of that.
What I'm asking, though, is when, clearly a person or a group that wants us to take every book out of the library that even mentions sex is going to have a complaint. So what do you think the process is going, how long do you think the process is taking? Keeping in mind that the state librarian told us that she didn't have the bandwidth to support issues from Stephanie. So tell us, how long should we expect to not know whether or not we can continue the programs that the funding is going to be for this whole to play out? Do you think it's going to be 6 months, a year, a couple of years? How long do you think it's going to take before the state librarian can review the 100 or 1,000 books that everybody's complained about?
I can't answer that question, but I can tell you this, that if a delegation determines they're going to send a letter in, then they will be in communication with the state library, and I'm sure they would be glad to let that board know.
What's the timeline, though, Rex? Because we're going to have to suspend programs. We're getting the budget tonight. 2 of those programs that are pretty much like some of the most heavily used programs will get suspended starting today. Because we're not going to have the money for those.
Can I ask you a question? Or I know the way we work in Columbia is I can't ask questions.
Oh, ask all you want.
But anyway, how long does it take to review a book, or how long has it taken to review a book?
How long does it take you to read a 300-page book?
Me?
Yeah.
It'd take weeks.
It takes me a solid 10 hours to read a 300-page book.
I mean, you're much better than I am. But I'm saying the standard.
There's hundreds of books that these folks have been complaining about. What do we do?
I'm trying to answer your question.
It also depends on how many books we have in the library. Sometimes we only have 1 book, and then each board member is required to read that book. So it takes the time of each, we have our policy in place, and we sent that to you. Did you read that, our policy?
Yeah.
On our reconsideration?
I did.
It tells you, and then it'll say, or what happens is, first the librarians review the book, and then if they decide that it isn't, that they're not going to move it, then the person who does the reconsideration can appeal it to the board, and then it's up to us to read the books, and we read the book. If there's 1 book, we have to share it among 7 of them.
So that process, do what?
It could take up to 10 months for 1 book.
And I would say that I wouldn't think it'd take 10 months, but I think it could take 3 months to answer.
The thing is, though, there's going to be a series of these books that are probably going to be challenged. What I'm really trying to get at with the question is, we asked in our budget for the council to help us hire an executive, or not maybe not executive, but a management level person to be able to make these reviews like their full-time job and to handle these things in a very expedited fashion, right? Because it's a methodical process, and every book's got a constituency, right? They either have a social connection to it, or somebody's read it or whatnot, and so the whole goal is to give due diligence to it. But what you've done with the proviso was superseded that all. Lose the money today for programs that are critical to people in our community, and then have no idea how long it'll take to get them, and then really, I mean, there's an immaturity to it. The hundreds and hundreds of books that could come right at us. As soon as this goes out, if we caved and we just did whatever it was, Miss Davidson over there was talking about, whatever it was, I didn't quite follow what she was saying. But if we were just to cave in and just immediately just move all the books, right? Do we not get the funding then? I mean, if we just made it our policy, if somebody complains about it, we just immediately move it. How do we know when we're going to get the money? Because we have to operate an enterprise here. Well, we got no idea if we're going to get the money or not, because maybe Jonelle just keeps complaining and complaining and complaining. So how would you had business in the past, how would you address that if you were in an operational role like we're in? I mean,
Except for Jonelle.
I asked him.
But they're in the community, so they have every right to say and speak up.
You're speaking for him. Is she speaking for you?
Do what?
Is she speaking for you?
Well, you're not letting them speak either. I was just commenting.
I asked Rex.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to Rex on this.
Let him answer my question.
Well, could you clarify the question?
If you were in my seat.
Yep.
And you just proposed, basically, there's no process whatsoever. You guys will send a letter that you think there's prurient information here based on maybe 1 or 2 people's complaints. We have no idea how long that will take, but we have to decide whether or not we spend money on services here that are funded by this particular amount of money.
If I was in your seat,
Yeah.
I would allow 3 months for that.
3 months.
Yep.
Based on what?
Based on my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. So no real process whatsoever has been put together to make this stuff work out for us?
You asked me how long I think it would take, and that's what I said.
For hundreds of books, okay, fair enough.
I want to make a comment, Rex. Yeah, go ahead. Rex, you mentioned, how long does it take? but we're in the process. We have talked about getting a team committee that would go through these books and help us and speed up this process. So I think it comes back to the library board to determine that and to get volunteers to read the books and help us determine. That's going to save time. And then I guess the other thing I was wanting to say is that the books that you're wanting to move, they have, you said you read some and used others and you want these out. Those 10 books, if they're moved out, we can pursue, I guess, with signing off that we meet the proviso. And so then the process starts over again through reconsiderations, et cetera. But in light of that, I think we can speed up this process through the board and get volunteers to help us with these books. But one thing Henry said is that this group, some of the group, whatever, there's very few that I've heard talk about kissing, and they want every book out of the library. Now, I know Henry's encountered, he's told us one, but it's like any other group. You've got some splintered off here in those groups. They're just way out yonder. But I think basically it's just a matter of getting the books with this sexual explicit language, et cetera, out of the children's section. I don't see a big deal with it, working toward that end with what you guys are doing with the proviso.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
10 books that Annie is talking about. Did you read the entire book or just those pages that we were given? Did you read all 10 books?
No, I did not read the entire book.
There you go.
But weren't those books banned by the school system?
We're not the school
That
district.
they're not allowed to be in the school libraries?
He just mentioned a second ago. I'll come back to it. Something really confuses me about what you just said a few minutes ago.
Senator Rice, one of the dilemmas which I think Henry is alluding to is that we have a list of 10 books now, is that right? It's 10 books that the librarian has taken valuable time to review, and then we're going to have a special meeting in which we discuss those books. But what's to prevent another 10 books from showing up, and then another 10 books, and then another 10 books? And then how are we going to manage that? There's just absolutely no way to manage it. Meanwhile, every time these books show up, our budget's been compromised.
I mean, my recommendation is to deal with those books and then deal with the ones as they come along. I mean, show some good faith in moving in that direction.
Can I tell you just one program that's going to be severely affected by that?
Sure.
And you may not realize that, are the hot spots. There are many poor people up in Dacusville, up and around the Pumpkin Town area, and that they have no access to internet. These hot spots are how these children do their schoolwork. By not getting the funding, the library will not be able to afford those hot spots. So you're not only penalizing the library board by what you're doing, but you're not protecting the children for a good education because they're not going to have access to those hot spots in the internet. I just want you to know that because I don't think you know all the ramifications of what this.
I appreciate you telling me that.
Did you realize it?
I
No.
told you last week.
There's a lot of things I don't realize, so.
But yet you vote on something without knowing all the ramifications that are going to come from that vote. You're using one aspect of that vote.
And Senator Rice, what concerns...
I'm not yelling, I'm pointing out your point.
Senator, it concerns me that this submission of these 10 books came from one individual, as far as I understand.
That's not correct.
Okay.
The guidelines, the state South Carolina Library gives guidelines of collection development to minors, and part of that, if we would follow their guidelines, would take move these books automatically so we wouldn't be overwhelmed. If we would follow what the state library suggests, it would help us in our endeavor to help do with and provide and be in compliance with this proviso.
I just wanted to point out one As far as clarification is, and as far as the letter that I sent you, the proviso says these books have to have items of prurient interest, not explicit sex, not language, there's a very specific definition of obscenity and prurient interest, and that is what we are judging for these books. Nothing else, whether they're are prurient or they are not. That is what is in the proviso, and that's what I reviewed the books. That was the question that I was asking. Are these things prurient or not? Just wanted to clarify that. The board could move them based on other things, but as far as this proviso, that is the question, and that's the question that I was asked and answered.
Thank you for taking our
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you for your service, even though we disagree.
Okay, now, on to the approval of the minutes. The library board meeting, that was May 15th. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes. Did anybody have any corrections or additions?
I have a small correction. It still says agenda, and it should say minutes.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second? All those in favor? Okay, the library special called meeting, May 20th. Did everyone have a chance to read those? I just have one thing. On those minutes, it states that Ms. Pinkerton expressed that an evaluation is supposed to be a positive thing, and when did it get so negative? And during that meeting, I replied that the reason that people were thinking that it was going to turn negative is because of Facebook posts that were commented, that have commented about the director not having been reviewed, and the comments were made that hang on until December, and then she won't be here to worry about it anymore. That's the reason for the negative feeling, and I would like that put into the minutes, please. Any other corrections or additions? Motion to approve as corrected.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Okay. Library Director's report, Stephanie?
As far as buildings and grounds, we did get the carpet installation completed at the Central Clemson Meeting Room and the Sarlin Meeting Room. Central Clemson also received new lightweight stackable chairs for their meeting room. Right now, we're working on scheduling the complete carpet replacement for the Sarlin branch, and it looks like that will take place in September. We're hoping that doesn't take very long. We have a company coming in to actually lift up the bookshelves with the books on them and install the carpet, so we don't have to take all the books off, put them back on. So hopefully that will be a quick turnaround to that project. We need to replace that carpet because the tiles started lifting up and it's created a tripping hazard. So we need to go ahead and get that carpet, get some good moisture barrier, and replace the whole carpet in that library. Our air conditioning on the top level of this library, the Hampton Library, has been out since July 1st. We've moved the reference staff to the historical room and have found ways to continue offering public computer, printing, and fax services during that AC outage. Patrons are not currently allowed on the top floor unless they have a scheduled meeting in the conference room. We do still have AC in the conference room and some of the staff offices upstairs. We do not yet have a date for the repair. I believe they're still waiting on parts to fix that, but hopefully soon. MCG, which is the company that's currently working on all of our HVAC replacement and install at this library, will be working on the demo of the boilers on Monday, the 28th, so that they can begin the replacement of those. As far as personnel, we currently have 3 staff vacancies. The new part-time floater position has been posted, a part-time reference assistant position, and our youth services manager resigned, unfortunately, so that position is currently open for the youth services manager position. In terms of summer reading 2025, Color Our World is almost over. We have our final prize drawing live on Facebook on Wednesday, July 30th. That's next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And the PCLS Float Day with Saluda Outdoor River Company, which is everybody was given a free float ticket when they completed their first reading list, will take place that same day from 10 o'clock to 2 p.m. Other items of interest, we've finally been able to launch our PCLS Go app that makes searching the catalog a lot easier for mobile devices. We've been working on getting this app in the app stores for a while, and Apple finally allowed us to release it. Apple for a really long time, and finally got them to release it into their store. I encourage everyone to check it out. You just search PCLS Go ! In the App Store on your phone. You can search the catalog, keep up with your account, take care of your wireless printing, look up your Libby account. It has hours, locations, and contact information for all the libraries, along with some other neat features, so you should check that out. Through the month of August, all the libraries will be accepting donations for the Pickens County Animal Shelter through our Dog Days of Summer Pet Supply Drive. For those that would like to participate on your next visit to the library, you can drop off unopened dog food, wet and dry, dog toys, blankets, rugs, towels, Dawn dish detergent, or HE laundry detergent, and that list will be available on our website. It's in the newsletter and on social media. And then August 9th, our outreach team will be at the Dacusville Community Library to help them celebrate their 10-year anniversary. If you've never been to that library, it is an amazing library, and we've partnered with them for a while now. They do an excellent job, so if you have time, stop by there and help them celebrate their library and check it out. And that's all I have. Yep.
Are you in the process of interviewing or reviewing for that person that we are to do the committee, the supervisor position, to do the books?
We were not, we did not get that position. The only position that they gave us was the part-time floater. We asked for 3 positions, and they only gave us 1 part-time position.
Oh.
And we are in the process of hiring someone for that.
So the budget got changed, because we approved a budget with that in there.
Well, we submit the proposed budget from the library board, but then council has the final say on what we actually get and what we do not
And they
get.
knocked that position out.
And the part-time PR position as well.
So the question there, I think that you're asking really, that most folks should know is that, yeah, 2 other guys ran and organized to have folks come to the county council and raise hell about this issue. 2 other guys ran on it, and one of the other guys that was already on there helped push it through too. And you're right. They said, no, we couldn't have a person to help make this thing faster, to do this for a living. Everybody in the whole library has a job already, and you've added probably 2.5, 3 people's worth of work, right, to really kind of keep up with this. And they said, yeah, we want to raise hell about it, and we want to get elected, but we're not going to fund that role. So yeah, you're dead right. Just translating what you're asking. Yeah, so, go raise hell at somebody else.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
I think the language that Henry's using
Send me a letter.
needs to be toned down just a bit.
Just send me a letter. I'll talk the way I want to. It's America.
Okay.
Wait a minute, what? Hang on, let's just go back. I took complete acceptance to that. You're going to talk to me about something, you talk to me about it separately. The other side of the coin here is, and this is an important issue, this is where First Amendments and Second Amendments come to die, is at the library. So if I want to use language, I use language. The best part about it is you can overlook it because it has absolutely no effect to you. And so I can sit here while Denise Davidson gets up and lies to the entire community, while Janelle gets up and lies to the whole community. I can sit here and be an adult and be responsible.
All right.
What have you not lied about, Janelle? What have you not lied about?
All right.
So here's the thing. Here's my real question for you. Whatever. It's your opinion. So here's my question, Mr. Chairman. Earlier, when he said that nobody else has ever heard anybody say that we should just get a random number of things out of there, we had a meeting, I think you took it in the minutes, where one of the people on the board right now basically said anything that has a bare butt or mentions a butt should be removed from the books. Did I mishear that night?
No, you're absolutely correct.
So you've heard somebody here on this board, because you've been on the board for a long time, right? You heard somebody on this board, right? Yeah, so that's more than one, isn't it?
Okay.
So you've heard it before. You can have your opinion, and see, that's the thing about it. I would fight. I would go back.
Respect you.
I was in the
You're not
military.
respecting right now.
I have complete respect for you. I served in the military to defend the Constitution, and that's all I want to do. And what have you done? You made this binary decision that it's either you're for porn or you're not for protecting kids. You're either for porn or not, right? That's the binary decision that you tried to paint this in, and that is just not effective in a true concept of what we're all talking about. Some of us are talking about the Constitution. You guys are talking about.
Can we get back to the agenda?
Send me a letter if you want to screen me for saying hell.
I will not.
You're an adult.
Okay, Stephanie,
You should act like one.
could you,
I'll act any way I want.
stop, he stopped, and now you're starting it back up. Let's just stop and move on.
Statistics. Cassie.
Cassie, statistics, please.
You've got your fourth quarter statistics for FY25 and also the yearly totals. We're in pretty good shape looking at the yearly totals. The ebooks were just slightly down just by about 200. It's not even a 0.5%. But on the flip side of that, e-audiobooks are up by almost 25%. So that just I think that's just people are busy. They're listening to books a lot more than they're reading them.
There are no CD players in cars anymore.
There's no CD players in cars anymore. So yeah, that's just a difference in how people are taking in our resources. E-magazines, we just started that in FY24, and I wanted to point out that in FY25 it jumped up by 164% usage of that. Computer usage continues to go down, and that's just a trend that people are just have their own devices, and that also shows that one of the things that we have added over the past couple of years is mobile printing. Before we got that, people had to jump on our computers to print anything that they needed to, and they don't have to do that anymore, and that's reflective in that as well. Meeting room attendance is up 18%. I wanted to point out our teen programming has been going really well. Some of the, you'll see that the teen events are up by almost 50%. Some of the branches have added teen programming in, and then we've also added in some passive programming that has been going really well. So you'll see that in the teen attendance as well has jumped up exponentially.
Do you want to explain what that is?
Passive programming is like an activity that they can engage in without it like having to be here at a specific time. So it's like asynchronous programming rather than coming and they have to be here at 5 o'clock.
They can come in whenever they come in and participate in a program. We have
Yes.
everything out that they need.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that on
Yeah, so that teen attendance is up 285% because of those two things. Children's attendance was slightly down, and we looked back at the statistics on that and pinpointed that that was related to the hurricane when we had closures and canceled programming and people weren't coming because they had way bigger issues to think about at that time. So we recovered a little bit from that, but it's less than 100 difference on that one. And then outreach attendance is up overall, but we did do less events across the board last year, and that's just because as our outreach department is evolving, we are learning and we're prioritizing larger events to kind of get the most bang for our buck, so to speak, to going to these events that have more return.
Doesn't mean we're opposed to going to small events.
Right,
It
yes.
just means that we're doing more prioritizing. So if you
Yes.
have an event, please let us know. If we can fit it into the schedule, we'll be there.
Any questions about statistics?
So one of the more significant areas of growth was the ebooks?
E-audiobooks, so downloading audiobooks.
It's
was-
up almost 25%.
Yeah.
What, if you don't mind remind me, what portion of the budget do we use to pay for that program?
State
That
aid.
all comes out of state aid.
So it's.
And it is a significant portion of state aid.
And it's the direction that the majority of the type of, is moving towards, right?
Yes.
This will be an example of something we lose completely.
Any other questions for the statistics? Okay. Financial report, Stephanie?
So I provided you with the year-end FY25 report and then the beginning of the FY26 report. Everything looked good for the end report. They're still cleaning that up a little bit. If there are any significant changes, I'll let y'all know. One of the things, we did save some money from this year that will be carried over to complete that Liberty carpet project. So we saved that money in this budget, and they're moving it over into the next budget so that it will not come out of our FY26 budget. In the FY26 budget, I did want to point out, because we did lose our millage and we're now in the general fund, you will no longer see the revenue page. You'll only see the expenditure page, because the revenues will be just general fund revenues, and it really won't make any sense to the library. If you want to see general fund revenues, I can ask the finance director for that, but that's not a report I can pull. There's just not that specific funding for the library anymore, so we won't have that on the report. We will just have expenditures.
We still have a amount, though, that is approved for...
We do, and it comes out of the general fund. So with our millage, it was a little bit different because we had money coming in through several different things, several different taxes and fees and things like that, because the millage was a percentage. We won't have that anymore because our funding is coming directly from the general fund, and that is the amount. Our what now? They will. We just don't have any for that year yet, but we'll add them in as we get them. So you'll see those.
So at the end of 2025, it looks to me like we generated, I did my own calculation, came up with a different number, but at any rate, it looks like we're somewhere around 150,000, maybe 200,000 residual, and that will go back to the general fund. It won't be in a library reserve fund anymore. Is that correct?
Well, that's, I guess, the part of that argument of, it does not matter if we are under millage or not. Any money appropriated to the library is supposed to be spent on the library. So it is, our reserve fund always went back into the general fund, and they made interest off of that. But the money that is appropriated to the library is supposed to be always used on the library. They can't take money, like that money is not supposed to then go to the general fund and be spent on something else, if that makes sense.
You know, I understand, yeah, I understand, so that we need to track that, right? I mean, we need to be sure that.
Yep, and I did ask Ralph about that, how much we had in that reserve fund, because I think Alex had talked a little bit about at council, us now being able to use that, what we had in reserve to finish this library and other things. I've asked Ralph how much is in that reserve fund, and he's still calculating that because he's finishing up the FY25 year and stuff.
I would just like to track this.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, okay.
I think that's a good thing.
Who's our treasurer now?
Susan.
Okay, she'll have to track.
Elisa, you had a question, didn't you?
Did I answer it?
But, so if there's anything in the reserve, it would be moved over because it has to stay at the library, right? So it would probably be rolled over.
Well, they don't really roll it over anywhere. They just keep it in the general fund like they do now. They keep it in the general fund, but they have to know what that amount is. Yeah, they have to know what that is. And I think it, you know, like Hat was saying, it's a good idea for the board and us to keep up with that as well. When we get it, we'll make sure that it's part of the minutes and on record when Ralph gives us that number.
Because didn't Ralph say he was going to make a line item just for the money in the reserve fund then and call it something
I don't
else?
remember him saying that.
Did he
I
not
can
say
ask
that?
him.
I wasn't in that meeting, I don't know.
It wasn't in that meeting. He has said it in the.
I can ask him to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
So we won't know, I mean, for the budget, when we do the budget, we have a total amount that we ask for, total, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also have the state funding, the grants, the donations from the Friends of the Library, all that stuff. Is Ralph not separating this out anymore?
Your Friends of the Library is an independent 501c3, so that
Yeah.
should be separate, completely separate from what you're talking about.
But
That-
revenue-wise.
But we don't have to worry about revenue anymore. They took that's out of our risks now. What she's talking about there is, we used to have to keep a reserve fund so we could bank flow, cash flow, like, different
Yeah.
like payments and stuff. We don't gotta do that, so every bit of the money that would have never really came out of there because it had to be there when there was no cash flow coming in for it, right? All of that is ours now, so every bit of that can be used on the building upstairs or some of the other projects we
Yeah.
got. So we don't lose a single penny, 'cause it's already been allocated, it's completely because it was on a millage devoted to the library. So we're not gonna lose anything, and they don't have any interest in taking it either. The direction to the finance folks have always been to leave that for us. But we get to use more of it than we could have used ever before, because we don't have to cover that little dip in the year's fluctuation of cash flow.
We'll have to see, because the Friends is on this Munis report, but so maybe it will still be on.
There's some that run through those accounts, and others that don't, but you will see it in expenditures, and I can see if he will give me some sort of report to run to show you that stuff, what we're taking in. But you will see it in expenditures, because typically we
It's
take.
making it accountable to him too, just in case there's no human error,
Yeah. I see what you're erring on the side of I want to see everything.
Well, why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
We have a right.
I can ask him about permissions to allow me to get more of that information. I don't have those permissions right now, but I'll ask.
Thank you.
Foundation, yeah.
There really wasn't any significant movement on the foundation. Our current total is $78,594.65. We do have a foundation meeting coming up in August, and they're gonna, or y'all, or some of y'all here, but
Yeah.
they're gonna talk more about the upcoming goals and some really exciting things that they're working on.
Okay, and the beautiful annual report.
Yep, so this is our annual report. Jennifer, who is our PR person that does everything, everywhere, all the time, took vacation day today and tomorrow. So there are a couple of little things that we still need to fix, but nothing substantial. All the numbers are correct. There's some typos, things like that, that need to be corrected, but we'll get those corrected, and I'll be presenting information from this annual report at the council meeting next Monday.
The August 4th.
August 4th, the Monday after next.
Yeah.
And then we will be printing these to have people to pick up at the libraries.
And this is also the person that didn't get a part-time helper too, since.
Okay.
She's amazing.
Now, this 5-year accomplishment, are these strategic plan and goals?
No, those are just all
Things
the
we've
things that
done.
we've been working on and have completed for the past 5 years. It's a lot of work on those 2 pages.
Now, whenever you come up, will there be a page, maybe on the back page, to say, hey, the next year, we're looking forward to this, and this, or?
Well, this is just a report of what we've done and what we've completed, but I think it would be good to, when we figure out where we're headed and our vision and our strategic plan, would be to do something like this, maybe not this big, maybe it's a
Look ahead.
4-page, and then we could, it's a great way to inform the community of what's coming, what we want to do in the future. I think that would be a great way to talk about our strategic plan and communicate it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, this is the time for motion period for new business. Matters can be added to the agenda by appropriate motion, second majority of the vote of the board. The one thing we have under new business, if anybody didn't have anything else, is the library director's evaluation form and timeline. This was sent out to everyone, and then everyone's comments were shared with everyone, so you all got a chance to see. I think we could,
I saw Danny's comment adding a statement or an objective to the community engagement, and I was going to ask Danny why the ability to learn from past mistakes by avoiding performance problems that had been raised in the past, why would that be in the community engagement section? Wouldn't it be under professional development? Unless you intend that to be.
With community, I just was trying community, it had things of those that patrons, under that particular item, number 11, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put that there too. But I thought it would probably go there, but wherever we feel like it would go, and that was on the list from, I think, the 12 or so I sent in, 10 or 12, that y'all asked me to send in, that was on the original, yeah.
Well, if it's under community engagement, it sounds like it's mistakes that have been pointed out by the public as opposed to a more general.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would think it would go under.
I was thinking, well, her engagement with the community, or what is that?
Okay, my issue with that was, can I see that, please?
Yeah.
Was that this is like a personal thing. So this would be more like a comment when you're doing the evaluation, something to address at a future date. This would not be on a form that goes to all directors, because you're assuming that if there is a new director, that there's going to be a problem. This is something, like when you do an evaluation, you would say, this problem came up, blah, 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 and you would note that problem on the evaluation. And then when you do your next evaluation, then you would say, this last time we had this issue, what have you done to correct that? Do you see what I'm saying? When you give an evaluation, it's not just for, like we said, this is not just an evaluation form for Stephanie. This is all future directors.
Yeah, but wouldn't all future directors be having community?
If they have a problem, then that's written on that particular evaluation when you evaluate them. And then it's addressed the next time.
Well, I just got it off of the website where the evaluations from another library, I can look it up and tell you exactly which one. It's nowhere around here local, might be in Wisconsin or somewhere. But that was on their evaluation, and y'all were asking me about.
Right.
And I just went down and took those, so.
I
thought it's a good question, because if she's not had a problem, or he's not had a problem, whoever the director is, if they don't have a problem, then, you say, hey, there's no problem there, to move on. But that was what I was looking at. I don't think it's something you need to tag on because there was a problem. I think it's standard evaluation.
I've never had a thing like that on any of my evaluations for learn from past mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, if we include it, I think it should go under more professional development.
What do you suggest, Hap? I'm all
And just a trivial thing is to make it parallel with the others. The verb tends to be parallel with the others, so it could be learns from past mistakes by correcting performance problems that have been identified, something like that, just to make it parallel with.
And could past mistakes be not like, it doesn't matter, what you said is fine. I mean, he changed the wordage on it, and I was just gonna do the same, so sorry, it doesn't.
It says the
you're
same
right.
thing. I'll share that with Stephanie.
My phone
All
is
right.
nowhere near it, I
I,
promise.
Yeah, I don't know what it's doing, I'm sorry.
It might be because,
I mean, I'm like, stick it in my back pocket.
There's just some issues with the microphones, go ahead, I'm sorry.
oh, no, that's okay.
This is a process and development. If we can get it 90% by including everybody's stuff, and then afterwards have like what went well, what didn't, I think that would be a lot easier than trying to get perfection on the front end with a questionnaire like this. I mean, the goal is to have a dialogue and to be able to both, reflect whatever they're telling you and the feedback they're telling you about the experience they're having in the job, and then what your expectations are, right? So adding in stuff that might not necessarily work out long-term, well, that's not gonna hurt us any.
Right.
So let's come back and edit later.
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, so are you saying we should table?
Everything everybody asked us to put in there, let's put it in there.
Well, I asked to take some stuff out. Is that like the foundation stuff? Because we made a foundation board separate, and we made a separate entity with a board and everything, so I don't think that any of the foundation board stuff should be part, because we'd have our own.
Yeah, the director still has to be part of the foundation, and just like.
But couldn't we have our own evaluation with those board members, though?
No, because I'm not the director of the foundation. I just have to be on the board ex officio to make sure that what the foundation's doing is in line with what the strategic goals of the library are, just like I would be with the Friends.
So technically, foundation shouldn't be on here then anyway, right?
It's part of my job description to work with the foundation, just like it is to work with the Friends and any other support organization that we would have.
It gives you a specific spot to make some input, because I haven't been to any of those meetings, right? So you can specifically have input, and then most of us probably defer to what you're telling us, right? Because you're experiencing. I mean, this is one of those things where we definitely had it on the back end if it didn't work out.
Yeah, because we made it an entity of its own to separate it purposely from this board.
Yes, but
So-
she has to be the ex officio. She has to be a part of that board.
But how would anybody, I mean, like Henry said, you'd have to get our opinion for them to be able to evaluate her on the foundation board, because they're not part of those meetings.
But the thing is, as a body of the work here, right, that we're trying to do with this thing, if two of you guys have input, I just wouldn't write anything because I don't have any clue.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So your input's gonna be, and so if we have a big discussion about it and it becomes a deciding factor on whether or not she has to go or not, because she does a poor job working with that, that would be a discussion on all our point, right?
Okay, because like number 8 is like is the library foundation and grant applications. So that whole question would not pertain, like you guys would have to refer, okay.
Right.
Alicia, that line that she used is explicitly from her job duties,
What?
her job description. It comes directly from her job description.
The
Just
foundation.
the explanation
The
part
foundation.
under that headline.
It's explicitly in her.
I mean, if you guys have a bunch of very engaged volunteers.
I just-
But, people that really are engaged and really working to raise this money.
Yeah.
And you can't get a grant written, you can't get any support, you can't get any answers. That's a pretty valid thing for you guys to come back, because that library, that board is not just we're the government. That board's not the government. It's like real people in the community that are trying to do something for the library. You need to be able to have direct, I think, documented feedback about whether or not she's supporting it or not.
Okay. Okay.
So
I just was,
I see what you were saying when I read that, but
because the input, that's what I
Right.
was thinking, is I don't want to evaluate someone on something I have no idea.
so you
Because I
would,
don't see that in their job. I don't notice that. It's not part of me to know that. So that's why I was thinking that was,
If she volunteers weekly at Meals on Wheels, we don't care, right? But she's, as her role is she's working with y'all, and y'all are volunteering for Meals on Wheels, so she should support you, right, because it benefits her organization.
okay.
okay, so,
And the develop, I just had, because technically we develop the policies and procedures. She guides us and resources us.
where are you at?
This is number 5.
Oh,
I mean, isn't that technically our job is to, so I was just thinking, be a resource or guide and implement library policies, because we are the ones as a board are supposed to do the policies, but she is implementing the policies that we vote on to implement, right?
I think in this case, this particular one is operational policies. The issue with policies with the board are in a separate objective. This would be operational.
so we should say develops and implements operational.
I think that would be probably good.
Did you get that, Lena?
Is that what this section is? Because
I mean, I'm trying to think of, obviously what this means is that I would do the research, I would create a policy and then bring it to the board for changes, approval, everything. I wouldn't
Why
implement it myself.
Why wouldn't you bring that information to us and let us make the procedure and policy?
Because I'm here every day and operate the library and speak with staff and say, here's my suggestion for what the best thing would be in this, and then you'd have some basis to go on, and then we could.
Stephanie,
But, yeah, I'm
that's
sorry.
That's a number 10.
It's in number 10,
Yeah.
Elisa. See where,
The
read
interaction
number
with the
10.
board is in number 10. I thought number 5 was probably operational.
Yes, because number 10
Do
clearly
you mean
says.
procedures? Should it be procedures?
There's internal policies and procedures that we
So.
have as
Oh,
in-
yes.
Internal, maybe that's the change we need to make, internal policies and procedures.
That would be, yeah.
That, not, every tiny little thing that we do does not have to go before the board.
That's
Right.
To make the library run, so
You can
maybe
decide.
that's the what needs to be.
That's number 5.
specified.
And number 10 is the board one,
Right.
which,
So should we say internal before
Yeah, or-
develops and implements?
operational or internal.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You're using it interchangeably. Either way, does that make sense, Elisa, for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And in number 10, Alicia wanted to, I think that you do help develop library policies for board approval, like, and I, if you want to change develops and interprets, or guides and interprets, and whatever, and if you want to soften the word develop, but she does bring policy to the board, but it requires board approval, so I don't.
But this is her evaluation, so, meaning, like, technically, our definition as a board is to do the policies, that and procedures, that's what, and she's supposed to guide us and give us information and guide us, obviously, but what if, like, my collection policy that I brought here,
Yeah.
and we approved it, you didn't have nothing to do with that, you know what I mean? So you're not doing the procedure and policies, you're implementing a policy that the board approved.
Well, I think what this kind of means is I wouldn't show up here with a problem and say, all right, we have this issue, figure it out. I would say, hey, we have this issue because we have this new service or something, and I would be like, I've researched it, I've looked at what other libraries have done, I've spoken with my staff, and here's what I think the policy should be, but, I want to show up with something
Which is
for you
guiding,
to look
right?
at.
I mean, that's guiding.
Above the word
I mean,
guides.
it could be, if that's what y'all, if we all understand it to mean the same thing, put the word in there that makes the
Yeah.
most sense to you.
Well, and I guess what I'm saying is I want to understand it when I'm doing your evaluation. I want to understand what I'm evaluating you on. That's why I wanted it to be clear, so I don't, you know, what I mean.
Or any
So I don't
director.
input something I
Right.
think or.
The
Any
director.
Okay. What was the other one?
So,
That was all that.
guides and interprets.
I think that's it. I think we answered.
I had a
some.
couple of
Guides instead
things
of
that I
develops.
shared with you about the timeline.
We're not on the timeline.
Well, I think we.
Let's do like this, and then we can vote on them separate. That way we get them done,
Okay,
if that's okay.
yeah, no, I,
So does anybody else have anything else? As it stands now, we can vote to approve this library director evaluation program. Do I have a
With
motion?
the changes?
With the changes.
with
I
the
have
change.
a comment. Number 2, for instance, we have no clue how to score that. Supervises department staff, includes planning and assigning, I mean, I don't have any idea what to put for that.
Then don't put anything.
And staff development, I have no clue.
The option is, the question is there for the folks that actually have relevant, input on it, right, not just an opinion, so you don't have to put anything.
You do have staff development because we talk about training, and she comes back with reports on the training that they've had, which is
There-
staff
yeah.
development.
Her reports.
Or the director's reports. They
I mean,
will-
yeah.
It's whoever's in charge is going to tell us, to this training, this is that, it's in our budget that we approve the training. So that one, staff development, we do have.
But approving employee discipline and discharges, stuff like that, we don't know. She does that all on her own.
Right, and we are not to get involved in the day-to-day.
Well, how can we,
But we
I
see
mean,
the
why is it
input on
even
it.
on here?
So think about this, our job isn't day-to-day stuff, because none of us are librarians, I don't think any of us are librarians. Our job is to look at like the strategic level of it, which we had a long meeting about, right? And set this vision for where we want to go. And then the policies are sort of the guides for how they're going to get to those goals, right? We don't look at the results. So if the overall result is she's got huge turnover that's out of scale for libraries, that's probably a leadership issue. I mean, 90% of the problems are going to be a leadership issue at one level or another, right?
Yeah, we can't even get to turnover.
We don't have to know.
Okay.
How did you guys perform on these goals that we gave you, these measurable goals we gave you that affect this strategy? And so you don't, maybe 2 or 3 of the questions, you personally don't have a relevant amount of experience, but maybe somebody that's working with her every day on this stuff, or pretty commonly would. You know, because it's an aggregate of all of our inputs. Everything that we all write, she's going to read, right? And then what we come up with for the final copy is going to be what we come up with together that we can all vote for, right?
Okay.
So in your case, you know, what you're really asking here is, yes, we're not supposed to get into the weeds, but we can look at, like, is the library doing well? The survey that we did, which is a survey of loyalty, are you impacting the customers in a way that they'd send somebody to the library? If you have a real strong reason, why not? And you can say, well, there was a lady that wanted to use the conference room upstairs, and you kind of stood in the way of that when you didn't really need to, right? Then you can come back to really reasonable answers. You know? Yeah, we want to steer clear of getting in the weeds, that's for sure, because it's just, you know, we don't know enough about this stuff to win those arguments.
Okay. That being said, do we have a motion to approve this evaluation form with the changes that we just?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, now the timeline.
Yes, I had sent out an edited timeline. The principal things that wanted to make sure that we included was that any discussion, personnel discussions, would be an executive session. So all the places in this document where we're either with Stephanie or we're discussing Stephanie should be an executive session. It isn't explicit throughout this timeline, so we need to make that very explicit. The other thing I've invoked is the use of a personnel committee, which I know Elisa, she scratched the word
I don't
evaluation
agree
committee
with
up.
that. There's only 7 of us. I don't agree with the committee, but that's okay.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
It-
You know how I feel.
Pardon me, in my experience, it's really good if a really small group, maybe just as few as 2, compile and organize the information that will come from the staff and the evaluation forms, because each of the board members is going to fill out an evaluation form. And what you can do is that the committee can organize those responses to the individual objectives so they're all together, so that when you read them, you can read everybody's response to objective 1,
Or we
objective.
could have our secretary do it.
Pardon?
Or we can have our secretary that we
Well,
voted on to do it.
that's true, you could. The second thing is then you can do
I
the
mean,
same thing with the
she's an
numerical.
officer,
Also, a small committee can draft a draft an evaluation to bring to the board. And then the board, having a chance to look at it, then can make comments and additions and changes to it.
So you're saying this
The problem with trying to write an evaluation with 9 people, it's just chaotic. I mean, I don't know
What, 9
if you're
people?
trying to do that.
Yeah, who else?
What, 9 people?
7
You added
people.
2 more people.
7, I'm sorry.
I agree with Elisa. I think we work as a board on this.
But
Because we all are interacting.
have you ever drafted a committee of 7 people sit down to draft something together?
Can I make a suggestion? Let's get through this one, because we're already writing this one, we've already pretty much written it. And then we can tweak the whole process after we've gone through it one time. After we go through it, we can look at what worked well, what didn't. So, I mean, we're already pregnant, Hal, you know? So let's just go ahead and have this baby, and then we'll talk about what color the room's gonna be.
Well, okay. It seems to me it would be harmless to have a committee, a small committee, to draft something and then bring it to the board, and they can send it to the board in advance, you can look at it and evaluate it,
Or
make
what
a
if our
comment,
evaluation runs
because-
really well and we just keep using that form?
Excuse me?
What if our evaluation that we just discussed and approved these different things on this form, what if it goes really well and we answer the questions really well and everything works, everybody likes it, and then we come together and some people might have the same opinion, some people might not have, there might be different things, and we just have a summary of all of us all on one page that, your one person or our secretary or somebody can do, and then that's done. I mean, it's like you're adding an extra step that is,
So you
seems
don't-
like it's not
you don't-
necessary if this is
You don't
working.
envision having a summary of the evaluation?
It's
Or-
numerical, it's numerical, so we have an average and a mean and a median, and we look at the numbers.
We're rating
I mean,
it.
how complicated could that be for
And
somebody?
then what?
And then,
Then we come up with a conclusion.
and then we have an executive session and we,
Well, what she's talking about is when we sat down last time, we talked about a way for each one of us to participate in deciding like how, which one of these questions are important and weighting them. And then each one of us would go 0 to 5, how she's done on that, so there's a numerical element to it. We can all write in commentary or whatnot. That should be, the secretary can, or maybe the actual director can combine all that, and the chair here can check to make sure she didn't skip out anything that was good or bad. But the numbers are, pretty easy for us to kind of average out. And if we all decide the number 2 question is the most important, it gets the most points, the number 7 question is not, our score times that's all weighted. It takes out, this is a process that people use to make huge technical decisions or political decisions. We did it on the school board for every single capital project one year in front of the news media. Once we've all ranked it and parsed it out, it's just like you got a 3.5. It's average of all the people that get to vote on your review. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm willing to give it a shot that way, yeah.
Okay, so what we're voting on is this timeline that in July, the evaluation committee meets with the director, and all of this will be an executive session, because this is between us and the director.
I don't think it would hurt to add that, since
That needs to
every
be
time we
added.
start talking about this, it
Yes.
kind of goes in a weird direction.
And
So we need to put,
It's in here. You can, the executive session.
yeah, or we can put it at the top,
Yeah, like
must be an executive session.
Other than that,
Other than that, this is the timeline. In December, there's a mid-year review. In May, the director submits the annual report that we just got. June, and then July, the formal evaluation is presented to the director.
right.
okay. Except for July's ending next week, so are we going to call an executive session meeting for August? Because we're already behind.
It'll just have to be a little bit delayed.
Okay,
this
is it
time.
okay, because we're behind
Right.
right now, okay.
Right, so this will be
And I mean-
for
So
next
this is
year.
starting,
It's going to be August.
it'll
not
be
July.
August instead of July,
Right,
okay.
but
this
next year, it would,
So do we need a motion for an executive meeting to do this?
You can just schedule stuff like that.
with the agenda, it'll be on the agenda.
Okay.
But right now, I need a motion to approve the timeline.
With that addition.
Second, with the addition of executive session.
And taking out
Second.
evaluation committee as well?
We're approving this one.
It says,
draft one.
it says it on there.
It just says
Or.
So in the future, if you do decide it works better, it's already in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, okay, sorry.
Second? Did you second it? I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
any more discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Okay, the next thing is to elect a strategic plan committee. This is kind of, we already agreed to do the breakout session,
Right.
and we're going to work on that, right? So, do we need to have a committee for that, or are we all going to do that, and we're going to participate in the breakout
Let's
session?
all participate in it this year, and then if next year there needs to be a committee that does it or whatever, that'd be great. But,
I agree.
the very first time, let's get everybody's hands dirty with something like that.
Okay,
And plus, we can learn.
right, because it will be kind of like a training session.
So somebody comes in and does a proctor for us, like they help us, guide us through the discussion, they write the notes and whatnot. Well, part of that would be giving us sort of an introduction to the strategic
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah.
Right? That way, so what's on the table here and what's not on the table, whether or not she has 7 mops is not on the table.
And we can narrow it down too, to make it very subjective and very,
Yeah.
very particular to us. And, oh yeah, I think we should all be involved.
And the biggest thing about this is, instead of it's yes or no, you like it or you don't, right? It's, I think that she's a 3, and then we take the average of all of us, right, on that range. And then if we all work together to rank up those questions, it takes a lot of the bias, the personal bias or inexperience. It kind of waters that down, so you get a real good, like a straightforward review. And the goal is, does she build loyalty amongst the customers and the employees? That's what we're looking for, and have an impact, right? So yeah, I mean, this is, you go through it one time because it's really awkward, but then when you're done with it, you'll see where you're going to want to teach. If you coach a team of some kind, you're going to want to teach them how to do it because it's an easy way to make decisions.
So have you found a proctor for that work session?
I have asked a few people to have that kind of a background, and they come back. I'll call all you guys and kind of talk it through, and let you call them, and you can help pick which one to do it. The biggest thing is somebody that will do it at that level of skill set and do it for free.
Yes. And when should we, according to this time, we should have it in enough time to have the goal, so she has plenty of time to reach some goals and stuff, right? So should that be added?
Ideally, that you would start, that strategic process would be the first thing you did. And then,
then that, okay.
Yeah, because you're doing the strategic piece of it so that she can perform for a year, and then you can measure to that particular plan and goal, right? And so your plan, tell her what she's going to do this year. At the same time, you're kind of ranking what she's already been doing based on last year's goals. So they have to overlap a little bit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But this board turns over, right? 2 or 3 people
Yeah.
can make a big impact on
Yeah.
the board. So we have a process that stretches over the years. When those folks come in, they're not at a disadvantage of having to use last year's stuff. They don't have decision-making.
They almost have like 6 more months before they have to
That's
even do
right.
evaluation.
But if they
Okay.
come, let's say they come in January, and then they said they're gonna make the strategic issues go, right? And then they tell her in June, well, they have the whole next year to see it happen. And then they have a whole 6 months on the front end to get the experience they need to participate in that process.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah,
That makes sense.
you're architecting a system here that helps the newer persons the most.
Yeah, gives them the information they need to be able to make a good judgment call.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to get back to us.
Yeah, I'll get back to you about the volunteers. Pretty straightforward. Did it with the school board folks, did it with the county council folks. We can certainly do it too. Everybody's bright enough for that.
Okay, our next thing on the agenda is state aid form to be signed in front of a board quorum.
So to explain what this is, and I explained it last year, and I know it may be confusing, and I talked with Lori, she can table it until that special called meeting where we talk about all the forms, but just so you know, and I can explain it again, this is the form that has the percentages. We have a budget, and the state asks us to divide up the percentages of our budget. We never, almost no library gets these percentages correct because the legislation for public libraries is so old. The state library has acknowledged that and writes us a letter to say it's okay. We get as close as we can. But with the legislation being so old and the fact that they don't want to open it back up, that's what we're dealing with. So we get as close as we can, and then she writes us a letter that says that's okay. You did what you could to get as close as you could.
I'd like to make a motion that for us to make sure we get the state aid the motion is this, that the books that Senator Rice has brought to our attention, those 10 books, be placed in the adult section, and do that in one shot and one vote tonight, and we can sign this with a clear conscience that we're meeting what the state law has asked of us, requires.
Somebody's a second.
Second.
Okay, I would prefer to have a special meeting where we're called to discuss this. We did not get the entire books. We got pages. So we can't make a decision on anything that's taken out of context that's not the entire book. Did you get an entire book, 10 books?
No, but I know that the senator, when he meets and says these 10 books.
He didn't read the books either, he said so.
That doesn't matter.
But
It doesn't matter. I mean, he's got the power to move on it or not. I'm just saying.
Danny, I think this.
All right, let's
this
put
is
it-
supposed to be
let's-
the
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna put.
purview of our special meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we.
Oh, wait, we can't, So what I would like to have is a special meeting. So Danny's vote is on there right now to go ahead and remove the books. So all those in favor? What?
Point of order. We've got to go through all the discussion first. That you have to clearly ask whether or not there's any discussion, and then we can move to the voting piece of it. If you unilaterally jump ahead, right, it's not.
Okay, which I thought that I did ask if there was any more discussion.
I mean,
There wasn't even a second. Oh, I second, and then are we still continuing to discuss? Because you were going to table it.
No, I thought he said table under his.
my understanding of what he's saying is this is a precursor to you being able to sign any of the documentation. We should have a discussion about whether or not we want to do it or not. So he's simplified it. So we have the opportunity here, based on his motion, to supersede a special call meeting. Right? And, he certainly has the privilege of doing that within the context of what's on. Before you can sign anything, they want to know, to simplify it. If a majority of this group here says, that we don't think that needs to be done tonight, right? That's fair, but the way he's caged it, if it ties, it moves forward. So,
Well, I personally didn't come prepared to discuss that issue in detail. I've studied it some, but I would rather have a special meeting in which we address the issue as we talked about earlier.
Okay, well, you can vote no then, because if we have discussion, we decide to do it. I agree. I think we should do that too, because he's literally saying that we're not in compliance. So signing this, knowing that we're not in compliance, feels illegal to me. We're not following the law, so I don't feel comfortable having that signed.
We're not signing that document. We're just signing a budget document.
It says, I hereby certify this library
yeah,
to be
it
in
states
compliance with the South Carolina statutes and regulations pertaining to state aid.
She can wait to sign it.
Yeah, well, we can just wait on that one too.
But they're wanting to vote
Right.
to.
There's still discussion.
There's a motion.
it's a motion on the floor.
Right.
And so keep in mind, right, Laura was saying a second ago that she was going, that it would be her preference not to sign it tonight, but you guys certainly can do this. For that particular discussion, right, I will abstain from voting. And the reason I'll abstain from voting is because I believe this is unnecessarily coercive on behalf of from the proviso. And the reason I'm saying that is, from a home rule perspective, we're all here doing this work, right? Nobody in Washington or Columbia is doing this work for us. You guys have spent probably 2 years working on a process for hearing people's, interrogatories with regards to a particular book, right? You guys have been participating in a process where we've architected something that should be fair to folks. And then we went and said, hey, county council, folks in our community think this is very important. They're making a lot of contests against it. These guys have jobs, so we need a person full-time. We asked for a full-time guy. We were talking about 2 to 3 people when we were talking about it. So we went to resource this thing, right? And like I said earlier, the council said, no, y'all can't have that role. So as much hell has been raised, and I'll keep using that word because it's a term of description here. As much hell has been raised, the council said, yeah, thank you for raising hell. It helped me with my election, but I don't believe in this enough to actually fund the people to go do the work. So, yeah, so now we have to come back to this and we have to kind of move ourselves through it, right? And the decision here, just so you understand, right, you're talking about trying to make sure we keep the money. So everybody knows, the largest growing user group in our entire community is focused on using a tool that the state money pays for. So yeah, it's overly coercive. I mean, it's a complete violation of home rule. The other side of it is, you're saying let's move it because he's politically coerced us. And this process they have is so vague, right? Nobody said it's going to be this or this. There's no architected rule to review them. There's nothing. And you can't even get a bridge built in 5 years in this county. You think this guy's going to come back in 3 months? That's a fairy tale. So we're deciding tonight, under coercion, political coercion, whether or not we can keep funding our Wi-Fi systems, which overwhelmingly affects the poorest people in our community because the people out of the cliffs can afford those assets. They'll get Starlink or whatnot. And the single largest user base that we have, the largest growth user base we have, the ebooks, which is what everybody does. I haven't checked a book out forever. I just buy the book on my little audio thing. Those 2 groups lose complete funding tonight. So here's the problem with that. When you elect to move books under political coercion and you tell everybody in a public environment that that's the case, those are the lawsuits that people win. Those are categorically the lawsuits people win. If you go back and look, and I had the misfortune over the last 2 or 3 weeks of looking at hundreds of lawsuits, The ones that win is when people stand up and say, that guy held us hostage and made us do it politically. That's the problem, right? Because he says, well, we're protecting, the kids, right? The thing is, the folks out here that believe the other side of the coin, since this is still America, have the opportunity to go and say that feels like, that political coercion circumvented the home rule where these guys have put these processes together. Yeah, that's true. And it's also put us in a position where we have to choose between very impactful and important programs, or we move some books under coercion. So just so you guys understand, right, that is 100% the position we're in. We can do it. And I'm going to abstain because I will absolutely not let any man force me to vote any way I don't want to do it. I don't think that's the way to represent the folks in my area. They didn't ask me to come in here and do something stupid. They came in and asked me to come in here and do something that's good for our community. So I'm going to abstain under complete protest, and I want that in the minutes. But you get your right, you get your privilege to have the vote to do this.
That's your opinion. My opinion is it's law. We abide by it.
The problem is there are laws that aren't legal, and they get decided on all the time in front of the Constitution. I can choose as a representative of this community to not participate in anything that abridges anybody's constitutional rights. That's the wonderful part about having people that will stand up for our Constitution and fight other people to the death over it. You have your opinion, and mine is I will under no circumstances knowingly violate someone's constitutional rights when I understand that the byproduct of that is losing money that we can use more efficiently. The school board has spent $400 grand or $500 grand on this type of lawsuit already. That's 8 teachers. All right, so we know what we lose if we don't do it, so you're right. You're compelled, the coercion. And like she said earlier, so Rex is not going to be held accountable for the lawsuits. Dollar's not going to come out of his wallet. He may not even get called. I doubt it. I think he would get called. And they're going to want to get everybody involved with that whole discussion. On the political side, they're going to get their cell phones, yours too. Because that's how this political process, this is how this process works. All of us will be involved with it, but if you vote for it or against it, you inculcate yourself into the dilemma associated with does this violate people's constitutional rights or not. I will choose not to do that. So tonight, let's have this vote.
So,
and we'll see how this plays out.
Two things. I think the proviso is not consistent with state law. And secondly, and probably more importantly, we do not have any books that are prurient nature in the young adult sections. So consequently, pulling 10 books out, fine, you could pull out 100 books that have sexual references in them. They're not prurient. The librarians have not put any. Every book that has come up for reconsideration, and we've looked at a number of them, none of them are prurient. So consequently, I feel we're not in violation of Proviso 27.1, and I've reviewed a number of the books on the list of 10. I don't see anything in it that would be described as prurient. So consequently, I'm happy to sign the document that says that we're not in violation of Proviso 27.1. And I am adamantly opposed to removing any books based on that proviso from our young adult section at this point. We have a process, the reconsideration request process. Damn it, let's use it.
My opinion is, Al, that's not what the discussion is about here. You guys did a lot of good work architecting a whole process for us to make these decisions in front of the people in our community. We followed the processes and asked for head count to be able to do it. We didn't get that, so these folks have to keep kind of shoehorning it in on top, right? Which is part of the leverage process that it does. That's why you get 1,000 complaints, right? And we saw in the feedback process, we see that there's a chunk of the feedback on the internet from the same IP addresses. People trying to gain it, right? So so if you're looking at like the feedback, it was really solid performance feedback, right? So we're not talking about whether or not they do a good job. What we're talking about is who defines the prurient. And I will just tell you, I can't read the 2 books I got a copy of. I didn't enjoy it at all. I don't like those books at all. The thing is, I don't like a lot of stuff. But back to like, hello, I'm from the government. I can't say hello, I'm from the government, and I don't like it, so you shouldn't get to see it, right? That's the dilemma these guys are all arguing, right? That's why this is dividing the line. That's why the Constitution lives and dies at the library. So what you just said may be all true. What we have to decide tonight is Senator Rice is coercion, right?
It is coercion.
Is that pressure that supersedes our role here from a home rule perspective, whether or not that's appropriate or not, and whether or not it's worth losing that funding.
Well,
So they're not bad guys for thinking that we shouldn't lose that funding. It's exactly why they went to the money. These guys, you know, they can't get us to just ban a bunch of books, whatever, right? You know, because we don't have the manpower to review and read all these books. It's just a political tool. So you're right. Should we all just buy into this political gamesmanship, right? Or should we stand on principle and stand on defending the Constitution? That's the hell where I'm going to stand.
Stand on principle, stand on the law. I call for a vote.
Well, here's where the law protects you. The law keeps us from being able to be individually sued. So most likely the county council would have to, unless we purposely violate someone's civil rights, right? Then we lose that privilege, and you can get threatened to that. You know, it's like the opposite side of the coin. You know, one year I had to use all my vacation money to pay for lawyers or whatnot for something I didn't even really do. It was a false claim. It was a long time ago, right? So, but in this particular case here, right, the reason why there's also reason for these things to be sued is because only 5% of all books have homosexual, you know, like content, but 40 to 50% of the books that get complained about have homosexual content. So the folks that meet that particular demographic, they'll use that. So just think about it. We most likely, let's say it costs $1 million to defend a lawsuit, right? Goes all the way to the state Supreme Court, about $1 million, $3 or $4 million if it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, something like that, right? So we're deciding whether or not that comes out of the county budget or not. That's what we're deciding about. What's the risk of getting sued, and is it going to be that much money? And how many people? How many roads? How many miles of roads would that do?
Yeah. I understand we're under political cover.
I would not have a problem signing this because I am with Hap, sorry, that
Whatever.
we don't have anything prurient in there. But I will not sign it with the agreement to remove or to move 10 books that we haven't even read the entire books, the books in their entirety. I will not do that.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Unless you outvoted, and then you would.
If these guys vote
No,
for
I
it-
don't have to sign anything. I will not sign it.
So it's
Point of
your
order.
decision.
Wait, point of
So
order.
why are you
No,
asking
no,
us?
No, it's not. Hang on. Point of order here. Mr. Chairman, just tell me this is true from a parliamentary perspective. These guys, right, we have a vote tonight, you know, based on, let's say these guys, but based on his motion, right? We have this vote and you lose. You don't have to do it, right? But as a board, we can agree as a board to suspend the rules, right, and appoint a chairman or the vice chairman, right, to whether or not they sign for it or not. So you don't have to do it if you have a moral reason for it, right? It's like being a military officer. I don't have to follow an illegal order if I think it's illegal, right? You can abstain from it, and it goes to the next person in line, all the way down the officers until one of them will either sign it or not, if it's the will of the board. But you're not compelled to do it because it's not the will of the board.
I will not do it.
Call for a vote.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I just want to say one more time. Rex gave me the list of books. I looked at the list of books. I looked at the pages that had been sent with the list. I did not have time to review every book in their entirety, which is a part of knowing if a book is prurient or not. You have to read it in its entirety. I did not have time to do that. I looked at the pages that had been pointed out. And you say it's the law. The law says, and what I was tasked with doing, and what you all are tasked with doing, is to judge not if the books have sexual content. If that had been put in the proviso, it would have been a different thing. We would have said, they have it, move them. It's if the books have prurient interest in those books. I did not see a single, you can be uncomfortable with those books for several different reasons. None of them, in my professional opinion, and I'm just going to say this, were prurient. None of it rose to that level. And having said that, I did not have the time to even look at the entire resource, the entire item. But the parts that I did see that people were objecting to did not go against the law because they were not prurient. I just want to point that out, that you can have objections to the certain things. That is the language that is in there. If the proviso had said move things that are sexual from the teen sections, move things for violent, it doesn't say that. It says prurient. That's just what I wanted to point out.
The definition of prurient, and we can argue all day long on our own definitions. But the definition of prurient, having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters. And so many of these books, the one, I looked at it pretty close today, and let me get to that book. Let me just make a statement on this particular book, and that book is Empire of Storms. And here's what you find out. In this book,
I think we're seeing why we needed a special meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there has been many chapters of this book has been filled with sexual content, okay, in that light of sexual, going through the sexual act, okay. So we can define our own words, but at the same time, yeah, you can find prurient, yeah, and but it has
What
to
I was
do
looking
with
at was a shameful or morbid interest in sex, and that was in a lot of the things that I read. I looked at what the threshold was, what made sex not prurient. You know, I've had to delve into this and just that definition, but that particular book I have not been able to get yet. Those two Sarah J. Maas books, both of them have been checked out over 250 times. I'm on the wait list for them, so I haven't even been able to review any part of that physical book. It's just been what was on that list.
Well, I wish we'd go to a vote. We can talk all day long on this.
But that's the whole point of parliamentary procedures, is so everybody has a voice and we have a real conversation.
We are, but there's some just over and over and over.
Yeah. Here's the thing, I have more degrees than you shake a stick at, more college you can shake a stick at, up to 300 undergraduate credit hours. I had to look up what prurient means, right? You know, but it'd be pretty simple if it just said porn, right?
Right.
I mean, you don't.
Well, there's a legal definition for prurient, which is a little bit different from what you read.
That's just
I mean, the state law defines it.
It's purposely vague, so it can just be somebody's opinion.
Okay, can I get in this discussion? Is it okay? I'm sorry, I'm asking permission. Is it okay? Okay. According to the guidelines of the state library, they have some information on there. It's to protect underaged minors. That is what this is for. And it says materials including graphic novels located in the teen services area should be appropriate for 13 to 17 years of age. Material with recommended upper age of 18 should be located in the adult section of the library. I mean, they have it on their guidelines on the website, the state library. They recommend these things. It's age appropriate, and I think most of these books are not, when they come in on a collection-wise, when they come in, if they were read, do you read them completely before you put them on the shelf? Because you're saying everything about reading completely, and they can't be, do you read them completely before they're placed on a shelf?
So the library board votes on our collection development policy. So you've made a collection development policy. We cannot read every book. We look at reviews. We do the best we can to put the best items on the shelf to make the best collection for our citizens. And then we have a reconsideration policy for somebody bringing something that they don't think fits.
So couldn't they, if we move these books age appropriately, according to the state guidelines, if we move them that way, then they could do a reconsideration to move them in a different location, just as well as we can move them up, they can move them down, correct? So.
Well, then we're going to have to read every book to evaluate whether they should go in the adult or the.
But you're not reading all the books when you put them on the shelves?
I think we're also talking, those guidelines are also talking about thousands and thousands of books. We have over 13,000 books in the YA teen section. And
that you're
from
just
our,
placing there
from
because
our
the publisher
initial,
told you to.
from our initial research, the and up designation, over half of them would have to be moved.
And the reconsideration is the net to catch those things, so.
Which you're trying to circumvent, the reconsideration policy by these books. These books,
But you're
these
telling us we
10,
have
these
to
10
move.
books.
We have to read these books to move, but they don't have to read the books to put.
These 10, but we did the policy, we created the policy, and these 10 books have not been, they're not on the reconsideration list. We've not gotten anything on a reconsideration for these 10 books.
Well, one of them you've already ruled on, Flamer. Flamer,
yeah. So you're trying to circumvent our own policies that we spent so long creating.
And that's exactly what's
So
happening.
when they lose the funding because of those policies, because regardless if you agree or not, they could take the funding.
Where is that policy? It says in that, also in that document, that if we have a reconsideration policy in place, the application, the library card application that gives the parents the exclusive right, that we are following the rules, the law. It says that in there.
It says that you have to have those 3 policies. It doesn't say that those 3
And we
policies
do.
are according to the law.
It says that we are
Because
meeting
our
the
policy doesn't go with
requirements.
this law that the state library uses, so we're not in compliance by this state law of the state library that they say for their guidelines.
I was gonna say, that's not a law, that's guidance. That's not a law.
So we pick and choose what we use from the state library and what we don't.
Yeah, this board is in charge, and this board has.
Technically,
I
we're
think it's-
supposed to be, right?
I think it's important to point out in this situation that this board has the liability. That is guidance. The state librarian does not have the liability. If you put your trust in what that state library guidance is and what she's saying, send it to her and let her make the decision.
She can't comment. It's state law that
No,
they,
it goes to her after, if we say.
they cannot
we're
make
not signing
particular
this,
collection
then it goes
policy
to the state
decisions
lib-
for each library
Would you
board.
let Stephanie finish?
It goes to the state librarian to review, and she has outlined a process for all the directors of what that review is. So she will have a say if he writes a letter to the state librarian, and then she has an opportunity to come in and review and.
The books.
Well, it's her, whatever she thinks is appropriate to answer the proviso.
He said earlier that they'll write a letter to the state librarian to make the decision. The state librarian, we have, based on the way the home rule works, right, we're responsible for what goes on here. And the coercion here is especially seedy at the point where it gives this unelected lady the ability to just supersede our home rule and all the rules we made. And then it also reinforces 2 things, which is going to be painful, okay? These guys are just going to go right back to Rex now that he's caved and he's done this. They're going to go back to him with a longer list. It's going to be just this. It's really coarse like this every time. That's why you don't negotiate with terrorists, right? Because they're just going to keep taking people hostage. That's it. So the thing is, like, I'm specifically not talking about the individual books because I have not read them. I have no idea. I couldn't make it through some of the other books or whatever because I have my own belief system, but it wasn't because I thought it was prurient. It's because it was just, I don't want to talk or listen to it. In your guys' case, right, what you're having to decide here is if our community goes purple, 10,000 people move to Central, we have a purple community. It's not just the books you don't like anymore. Everything's on the table at that point. It's any book that anybody doesn't like, and if they can just get the state senator to just take the list, not read the books, and just throw the thing on the table, anything can be forced to be kicked out.
But it's not kicked out. It's being moved to the adult section so parents have more control over their children. That is all that is. Nothing's kicked out. It's being moved so parents have more accountability on what their
We don't
children
think that's
can
a
and
big deal,
cannot
but
read.
some folks in our community do think it's a big deal that you start moving and deciding based on your opinion about the content of the book. That's why the lawsuits that win are when they don't have an educational reason to move the book. When you base it solely on politics, right, those lose. I'm just telling you, don't be so damn dumb that you do something that's going to for sure lose. If you're going to have to go to court to win. Go to court to protect something. Go to court to fight for something. Right?
This is exactly what we're doing, but we're done.
But you're not paying. The whole county's got to pay. All I'm saying is we have a process here, and we could certainly work through these books. That's why we asked for a head count, right? So if you circumvent it, I mean, you have to understand, and I hope that this is being filmed, right, that you weren't not informed. You were informed of what the risk will be, right? It's your decision.
Yes, sir.
And every penny that gets spent in defense of a lawsuit, in the event somebody actually sues, because they got to be able to afford to sue, right?
I understand.
Right.
Anybody can sue.
So you're saying he's politically or whatever you said. He's coercion, that's it. And what you're doing is fear-mongering right now on the other side, trying to tell us
Because this is
can't.
politics, lady.
But
I can have
you
my
can't
opinion
play
about what
both
he did.
sides.
I
mean,
still
you're-
love him. He's still going to get a Christmas card from him. He's one of my favorite politicians. The fact of the matter is, the only reason
So
we're talking
he's-
about these 10 books and the next 10 and the next 10 after that is because they went to Rex, and Rex don't want these guys riding his ass bus like they ride ours. That's it. So Rex puts in a proviso to protect children, and then you guys, because here's the coercion. Do we want to cut these programs? I don't want to cut them at all. But you know what I don't want to do? I don't want to infringe on somebody's constitutional right. The only thing that separates us from the third world is the rule of law and protecting people's property rights. And the rule of law in our country is the Constitution, which protects these people who think that if you move that book off of there, you're picking who gets to read what. And that is a double-edged sword. If we go purple, which is going to happen because Central is going to get 10,000 people, they're not moving to Clemson because they think green and red. They think freaking blue. If this county goes over the next 10 years purple, right, it's going to be the books that you think are good. Like they think these books are good. I will never read those books. I will never read those books. But they think they're good, you think they're not, and tonight, if y'all vote to do this, they will win the lawsuit. That's it.
Your opinion.
It's not my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I just did all the research, and I asked every lawyer I know, what's going to happen here? And they're like, well, you know, looks like somebody's going to get to win one in front of us.
Well, Henry, on the opposite end, and so we can't live by threats of lawsuits.
We cannot live by threats of lawsuits, but we cannot.
Threats from
We
politicians.
live by the law.
I think you need to think about, you brought up a minute ago, turnover. There are other implications with this decision that I think might benefit from the extra time. Do you want staff to walk out? Do you want staff to leave? Because they don't understand why you're making the decision you're making. I'm just saying, I'm a representative here of the staff, and you can smile, it's a very real thing. Do you care? Do you care about the staff?
I mean, she's not threatening. I will tell you, let me just say, she's not threatening. It has already happened where we have lost some really good people that we should not have lost.
And there's plenty out there more that we can rehire
Really?
somewhere
Because have
else.
you paid attention to the employment? How easy is it to get somebody to work at frickin' McDonald's and you think you're gonna get somebody qualified to work in a library?
Yes.
You're wrong.
Yes.
All I was trying to say with that is I just want you to be aware there are other implications with making this decision, making sure that everybody understands why you're making this decision, and making sure you understand the liability and where we're headed with this.
And I thought the money had to be spent certain ways
It
from the
does.
state, and it was towards books. I didn't know that programs were part of that.
Yes.
It's several things. I mean, ebooks is books, so it would be ebooks, Ancestry, newspapers, magazines, hotspots. You know, we get $365,000, and and physical books too. That's the majority of our physical books. So that collection will be incredibly impacted. We will not be able to get 20 copies of that James Patterson book for you. We will get one. So that's the other side. It's a very serious thing, not getting our state aid. It's also a very serious thing, infringing on people's rights. And we have to make sure that we're getting it right. That's just why I thought maybe having this conversation in a meeting where that's all we talk about, maybe we have a lawyer, maybe we have some other voices to say, let's look at this, but you're not, you've done your research, so.
Yeah, and I think it gives everybody a chance to cool off a little bit, and,
But they're not going to. They wanna vote.
so
You
you're-
can vote
your
no,
motion-
just like we can vote yes. So quit being hostile towards us, Lori. We have an opinion just like you do. We have every right to sit here and state how we feel.
You're not thinking of the whole picture.
How
You're
are we
thinking
not?
because
The
you
community is
don't like
speaking
sex and
out.
books and you don't like homosexuals.
That is not
That's
true.
why you are.
That is not true.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely.
You know me that way.
You said it out loud.
You said it out loud.
I did not say,
Yes.
I never said anything about homosexuals, never.
You don't even want bare butts, you said.
Because of my child. Because I'm looking at the nudity for
Now
children.
who's
They
being
do not
hostile?
need that.
Hang on.
Stop, all right.
And it's my opinion. I can state that because I'm
You
a
can
board
have
member and I
opinion.
can vote, just like you do.
You're allowed to have an opinion, but when I have one, it's hostile.
Absolutely not. You're
Mr.
the one
Chairman.
that starts it, Lori.
Go ahead.
Sure. If you don't mind, I've been part of the conservative movement my entire adult life. The whole goal was put parents in the driver's seat with regards to education and with their kids. I was on the Wild Aid board at the same time I was on the school board. I homeschooled my kids. We moved them to other schools. I took them to Christian schools. I believe that parents should be the centerpiece of the education for the child. The library has made it where the parent has to sign. The library's made it so that your kid under 16 cannot be in the library without a parent. The library's rule is that if you check out a book, your parents are going to get informed about it. The library has done what the conservative movement has been trying to do for decades. They've put the role in front of the parent and said, you have to protect the kid. So if your kid sees it, it's because you let them. You're not supervising your kid. If they're walking around the library and they're checking out stuff, and you're not reading the email from the library about what your kid, and your kid got here, under 16, they got here without you, they're saying they don't want to raise your kids. I'm saying, don't let other people pick the books your kids can read in America. That's it. You know, so I'm going to stay in the middle here on the books that you wrote there. I just want to say they're not my cup of tea by a long road. Would I take them to my church, right? The whole question of would you donate it to your church? Well, see, the thing is, a church is a private entity, protected. It's not the government. You are the government. So when you make a decision, it affects people's civil rights or their constitutional rights. You have to step back from what you would do at your church or your business. The purpose of government is not to grow. The purpose of government is to provide services for the people. That's it. So if you're willing to risk a lawsuit and spending this money, you're willing to risk disenfranchising someone that feels very passionately on the other side of the fence, that's fine. It's your prerogative, right? It is your prerogative, right? We all clearly care a lot about what's going on in the community. This isn't like we're not all like believing in America here. We all care about the community. We're just looking at it from a different perspective. I have seen communities go from blue to red. I was living here when it went blue from red. I think you probably were too. I don't know about these guys, right? We went blue from red. People didn't change their opinions. A brand of politicalization stopped being enfranchising to the people in our community. That could still happen, but what you got to understand is the decision that you're making tonight, right, without a lot of preparation, it will feed right into what you're trying to prevent.
Can I say something? Danny did a little research, and I talked to Lisa Aiken, the state librarian, about lawsuits because of moving library books. She said there has not been one. So did the UCLJ.
But we got ChatGPT and Google. You can just find it.
So can you send them to me? Because I've looked for some.
Stacks and stacks and stacks on stacks.
Moving books.
That's
Moving books.
Yes.
Moving books in the library have resulted in
Greenville's
lawsuits.
lawsuits about moving books.
They move books because of transgender, not because
But
of
you're-
prurient
You were
interest.
saying moving books, not removing. The lawsuit is about moving books.
Because we're not talking about transgender books. We're talking about books that have prurient interest and pornography
Have
in
you
them.
reviewed the books to be able to state that? Because I haven't even been able to review them completely. I reviewed the portions of them and did not think that it rose to
And
that.
another thing, prurient interest is totally subjective. You take a teenager, a teenage boy, any teenager, all right, we're old, okay, prurient interest is different from us. When you're talking about prurient interest to children, that's a whole other ballpark, and that's what this proviso addresses. I mean, have you been around teenage boys?
None of
Have
those
you been
kids are
around
coming
teen
here for
hormones,
masturbation material,
extremely.
Nancy. You talk to anybody below 21, they're not coming to the library to discover some book, they gotta read 27 pages for a sex scene. They got cell phones in their freaking pockets.
250 of those, the 250
wanna read
times
that
that book
book.
has been checked out.
The thing is, and here's the problem that we have, right? Because I talked to the young folks, and I tried to get some input on these books or whatever, tried to find somebody that had read one of those books. 5% of the books have homosexual information about it, but 50% of the books that are being complained about at the national level and the local level, 40 to 50%, I think it's like 47, are homosexual, right? So part of the reason they're being sued is because this you know, are you not sick of the DI stuff? Well, the way that you don't have any more DI stuff is not because we quit listening to it, it's because the folks can't make a complaint because they're not being treated unfairly. But if you're doing any statistics, if half of the books being complained about are based on some kind of a gay thing, but only 5% of all the books written have anything about being a gay person, right? You know, it doesn't take a statistician to figure that one out, that there might be a lot, I don't know, a trend here, right? All I'm saying is give some consideration. You're probably going to win tonight, right? You're probably going to get your way. But at the end of the day, right, look what you're going to win. One single 18-year-old kid's coming to this library looking for skin flicks.
It seems to me like we're in danger of losing it no matter what it does. If we move the books, there's a chance maybe we'll be seen as trying to comply. If we don't move the book, books, we're not doing anything, except voting for the books to stay where they are.
That's not what we're
I
doing.
mean, we're in
voting to
danger of
follow our
losing that
policies.
money either way.
We're voting, yeah, the thing is, yes, we're gonna lose either way. The problem is, we can vote to follow our policies and to allow her to review the books.
Because you're saying there could be a lawsuit.
Now, what I'm
We
saying
don't
is,
think there's any lawsuits. From what our research shows, there's no lawsuits about moving books. about
Greenville
moving
is
books.
being sued right this
Because we aren't moving books because of transgender issues.
We're not?
No.
That
None
wasn't
of
the
these-
reason for
that's-
some of those books?
No, it was.
Come on, Nancy.
Underage.
I want to point out that 4 out of 10 of the books on this list are LGBTQ issues, and there was a lawsuit in Arkansas about moving books because of LGBTQ issues. In order to make sure that you're not doing that, you have to review the book. That's why it's dangerous not to do
The problem with
this.
that, though, is we don't have a choice, meaning 13 to 17 or adult. That's the only choices. A 13-year-old should not read the same book that a 17-year-old has access to. It's maturity content.
I think that's their
So we don't
parents'
have a division.
option.
So it's either we move it to the adult or we keep it so a 13, 14 can get it. That's the problem.
That is why we did the library card the way we did it. The parent is the one responsible for their children. And they are the ones that give their child the right to read whatever they want. If they sign on there that they can read whatever they want, that's that parent's choice.
Yes.
It's not your decision
No, but
to
if I
say.
don't want my child
Then you
to
don't-
read it, then I don't have to be in here with him if he's 14 years old.
Then
So
you
that means I'm
sign-
trusting the library to have my son's best interest at heart, and I'm not giving any permission whatsoever to read those mature books. But there's no sections, there's only one or the other.
Then it's up to your son to know how well you raised him as to what he's gonna do.
you can't have it both ways. Either the parent is primary or you're the parent for everybody in the community's kids.
Yeah, but
I have a hard enough with the 2 kids I
if the
already
book is
got.
moved to adult, the parent can give permission to the 14, 13, whatever, to have all access to all the books, so they have access to that book too.
In the li- in the-
So it
in the
is
Liberty
putting the
Library-
parent in
In
charge.
the Liberty Library, the whole Liberty Library would fit in this room, right? Just about. So you're gonna move it from over here to over here. I would probably not make a complaint. I mean, all right, I got
They
one
couldn't
there.
check it out, though.
But and what I would do with my kid is irrelevant to what people want to do in the community. But if you move it from over here to over here and somebody comes across it, or you're not there with your kid to supervise your kid gets hit by a car outside, you should have been supervising your kid. It's the same thing if they come across, and if your kid is 7 years old and it comes across like a 27-page description of a sex scene, how the hell long has he got to stand there to read that? And what kid is going to be reading that? All I'm saying here is, this is a double-edged sword. It will be books that you like before you know it. Once you set this, you either protect the constitutional rights, you're either a constitutional conservative, or you just want control over what other people get to do for their kids. And that has not been the conservative movement for decades. It was put the parent in the control.
And what we're in danger of happening is that individuals now, submitting lists of books that they claim are prurient, and usurping the responsibility of the board completely, because if we start rolling over now with this list of 10 books, it'll be 10 more tomorrow from somebody else. It could be from an individual. They could submit them, and the legislative delegation will say, well, okay, you gotta comply with these 10 books, and then these 10 books, and these 10 books. It'll never end. It will never end. That's the responsibility of the board. The board's responsibility, we've developed policies and a procedure for submitting books. It's the responsibility of the board to follow through with those policies and decide what books and where they go. Not an individual citizen providing a list of books, or a few people providing a list of books. I'm sorry, there's absolutely no way that I would vote for moving these books based on a submission from an individual or a small body of citizens under the threat of Proviso 27.1. I'm sorry.
Okay, so. How do you think?
And we do not have the full board here. It's a little bit unfair to vote on something like that at
We have a
this point
quorum.
anyway.
We do have a quorum. I just wanted to
We have
point
a
out that as
quorum,
well.
but we don't have the full board. This seems like an
Susan is
important-
missing because of a medical issue. She would be here if she could.
Well, no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but this seems like an important enough issue that the full board should weigh in on.
And to point out, this isn't a make or break right now, make a decision. It will be, the way the proviso reads is funding will be delayed until the books are moved. So it's just delayed until the books are moved. It's not we have to make a decision right now to get our funding or not. It'll be delayed until the books are moved. The next stage of it is if we signed the forms and didn't move the books, then the state library would come in and do their part to help to
review.
Facilitate the process.
help us to,
Have you talked to the state library?
I have not. It has not gone to that. I mean, I've been in communication of the process, but I have not talked to her.
The forms that you gave us.
Yes.
So now what?
Well, Danny's motion on the table is that we sign the,
Oh, okay.
is with the instruction to remove the books, or to move the books. And we can call it a vote if you want, and,
Yeah.
but
Is there a second?
It's a motion.
it's a motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
I seconded it.
She's second. So,
So I just want to be clear, I'm going to abstain for the reasons I've already elaborated, but to just be clear about it. Haven't read the books. It's not following our process, superseding home rule, and completely the entire process, based on everything these guys have said, is a response to political coercion, where funding for key and critical role activities within our community are going to be held back, right? That's the leverage for it, that's the justification for it. So I'm going to abstain because I'm just not going to participate in anything like this that supersedes the processes and supersedes home rule and is questionably, constitutionally questionable. That's my purpose here. No comment whatsoever on the books because I've not read the books.
I don't think anybody.
And for that,
no, nobody has read, including Senator Rice,
and
has not read the book.
And for the fact that I haven't been able to review the books, I would not abstain, but I would not vote to move them
But
because
that's
I
his
haven't had an
motion.
opportunity to evaluate them.
I just-
How the hell do I move something that I haven't even evaluated?
Your name is Hap, right?
Yeah.
Look it up.
So I have this is an honest question, right? I would do like chairman, point of order here. It's pretty clear, that most of the folks complaining about these books have never read the books. And if I want to sue, I've got to have standing, I've got to actually have been damaged, right? But the majority of these folks never came across these books until they saw it on the internet. They saw a national movement architected to create political influence by demonizing you folks. Just like this, same demonization of school teachers, right? They're all the bad guys, they use the terms government schools and whatnot, right? So you clearly are taking that into context here when you say what you just said. We know it's not about these folks reading the book. They've not read the book, right? Somebody else somewhere found some pages and they got them pissed off about them and they've been raising
Well,
Canada.
yeah.
And some of the politicians in our community have used that as a leverage point for them to outreach to their base, right? So we're not talking about reality here. We're talking about, some books. So we can be in agreement on that, right? We're not talking about like the real world where like a business would have to be. We're talking about these guys weren't getting where they wanted to with this board, and they went to the senator, and he was dumb enough to give them this proviso. It doesn't matter if it's constitutional or not, because that'll take us 10 years to figure that one out.
I agree.
Okay, so let's have this vote. If that's what it's about, let's have this vote.
Yeah. I mean.
Well, I'm abstaining from the vote because I believe everything you said. That is exactly how I feel. I will not.
So, all right, who's the vice chairman?
Yeah.
You got to call for the vote then.
And then that means you would sign this.
So would you
You don't have to
would you
sign it either.
repeat the vote?
No, you don't have to sign. His motion is
No,
that we,
I would
oh,
like
sorry.
Andy to repeat the motion.
In order to meet the proviso, we will remove 10 books.
Move.
Is that move? The 10 books to the adult section, okay? And then, when those books are moved, you know, we're in compliance. We're showing, we're putting forth a good effort. We're in compliance by moving the books that Senator Rex has brought to the attention of our director. So that is my motion, that we
Move the 10 books.
move those books to the adult section. And then sign that, and you can sign it with a clear conscience.
I have one question in that regard, Frank. When they invariably go right to the delegation with another list, it's right after this meeting, and they go with another list, so they have another thing saying we have prurient books. At what point will this end? Will we stop having meetings and just moving books as a knee-jerk reaction to pressure? At what point would you guys stop? Would it be 200 bucks or 300 bucks, 6 or 7 months from now?
What if?
If they do
I don't
another-
live off of what ifs.
Oh, yeah, you do. Come on, you're a preacher, man. Come on. Preaching is all about what if. Come on.
Here now, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have the leadership ability to serve on boards like this, if that's how you live your life.
Henry, please.
Point of order. These personal insults have no place in this board.
Yeah, neither
Please,
does like willful
please,
ignorance of
please.
the facts of the situation.
And you continue with the personal. I think we need to call this meeting to an end. This
Well,
is
we need to,
ridiculous.
we have the motion on the table, so Hap, do
And
you
it's
want to
been
pass it on
seconded.
to the next officer?
It's just a vote. It's a motion to
It's
vote.
a vote
to
with
whether these 10 books.
ramifications, and we are not, it is not, you can't say it's just a vote. It is a vote to go against everything I believe in. And everything the Constitution believes in.
Next officer's Nancy.
Well, that's if he wants to abstain and pass it on.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I'm not signing any of these forms under this level of coercion.
So, Nancy.
I
so
will
you're-
sign it. If we vote, I will sign it. I have no problem
So,
signing it.
but before we do that, we have to have a vote to give you
Yes,
temporary
we have to have a
chairmanship.
vote.
So, I've moved that we give Nancy temporary chairmanship for the purposes of solely this particular vote and this signature that we're talking about here.
But I thought the motion was to move the books.
But we have to have it amended, a motion, because I'm not signing it, Hap's not signing it. and-
Signing what?
They've
To
abstained.
move the books.
We've abstained because of the purpose you're talking about there, right? I'm not talking about those individual books. Y'all want to move the books. That's why I abstained. She's explained why she's abstaining. And if he's not abstaining, then he can still do his role, right? But it's easy enough, but it sounds to me like he's going to refuse to sign.
The motion on the table is that we sign this after the books have been moved, and we're not willing to do that.
Well, the books aren't going to be moved tonight. I mean, why don't we make the motion to move the books and then see if the books get moved and then decide whether or not to sign the.
Yeah, why are we combining?
We have to have another meeting.
Because
We have
that
to have
was
a quorum.
that was his motion.
We have to have a quorum of folks have to witness her sign it. That means we have to have a noted meeting, right? We're in the noted meeting now. She's saying she's not gonna sign it. He says he's not gonna sign it. Just like if we were doing officers, we can vote to assign you, right, chairman, for this particular purpose, and then you can sign this document.
There are also several other
So wait a
forms that
minute.
the board chair has to sign and that I have to sign related to this
So
issue.
if we don't move the books, you will sign, but if the books are moved, you won't sign, or you're just not signing at all?
I am not signing with the stipulation that we move these 10 books, and that's his stipulation, is that we move these 10 books, and I'm not doing that. It goes against our policy that we have worked so hard to do with having a reconsideration policy. You're just going to say, I'm going to sign this, we'll be in compliance, until, like everybody has said, Henry has said time and again, until the next 10 books come up. This is only we only get half of our money this time. We only get half of our funding. So the next time, how many books is it gonna be when it comes due for our second
But
part of
just
the
because you
funding?
sign this doesn't mean that they're not gonna find you not in
Do you
compliance,
not
and you're still gonna get
understand
your
what
funding.
he's saying?
Correct,
That
you're correct.
Right?
He's-
Thank
You're
you.
correct.
Thank you.
But
But-
she
saying-
has to, I have to sign them too, so it has to say
Yes.
that I'm.
So
I
just
would
because we're
sign it.
doing this does not mean we're not getting our state funding. It's just,
I would sign
It's
it
delayed.
if he takes it off that we move the 10 books, and he's not going to, so it's on Nancy.
did you, Did you
don't
refuse?
call for a
Did you
vote.
abstain your
No,
vote? He
I
hasn't
am-
even answered yet.
I am
so-
adamantly opposed to the kind of coercion, both in proviso 27.1 and from a few individuals in this community.
But the question here is, will you coordinate the vote that we're about to take, right? And then, do you have a moral or ethical or other reason why you would not sign or vote?
For those two reasons.
So will you not sign, but will you coordinate the vote? 'Cause we
Oh,
have to
yes,
decide-
well, sure,
Okay, so he's not abdicating his role as temporary chairman, he's the next one in line, right? But he's saying he's not going to sign it. So that exercise would then go to a person that will represent the board as the leader, and you're the next officer in line. If he's saying, it can be the same,
I understand
same role.
totally. I
Can be the
understand.
same role, or it can be divided up role. He's going to call for the vote in a second, and then it's going to be on you to make the signatures because they're
understand.
abstaining for personal reasons.
All right, so
She,
at
so
this point-
just, but you're going to call a vote to make Nancy a temporary chair, and there has to be a majority of people to vote for that, correct?
No, we have to have the vote to make Hal
Okay.
the chair because he's the next one in line. And he says that he would do it, so we don't have to move to Nancy. So I think I already made the motion, right? Did I make the motion for
But
Hal?
you're not gonna sign it, right?
That's the next step.
Okay.
And that doesn't need a vote because she's an officer, she can sign for it.
Yeah, she would just be the next in line, I guess.
And you guys y'all could make them, it's the same as y'all aren't here that you're not signing, so she would be the one that would sign.
And like I said, this is not the only form. There are several forms that have to be signed. This is the only one that has to be signed in front of a quorum. So whoever, if she's not going to sign them, then I guess this person will also have to sign the other forms.
Well, this says library board chair.
Which
Yeah,
we're,
you have to sign the other, well, the chair has to sign the other ones as well.
so as soon as we do this vote for the chairman, we can vote for, to delegate to her the authority to sign because of whatever reason. Or we can just add that to it if you like, because you seconded it, right? I'll amend it, right? Sorry, Hap, to make Nancy the temporary chairman and to give her the authority to sign on behalf of the board. That's my motion. Is that okay with you? All right. So you seconded?
Second.
Okay, all right. So it's seconded, so, I mean, you're still the chairman for this particular thing here. I'm just trying to help on the parliamentarian side of it.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. And so Nancy's going to sign all do you have the documents ready for her?
We have to vote. We have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote on Danny's motion.
Which we
right.
just amended.
He just amended it.
No, wait, we didn't amend his motion.
Oh, sorry.
My motion to make her the chairman and the person that signs it. That makes it simple for everybody. She just does both. And you're the what, the treasurer? Okay.
Secretary.
Secretary's got all the power in most organizations anyway. Everybody okay with that?
Would it go to Susan, or because
She's
she's
not
not
here.
here, it would, okay,
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure so that we're good.
Yeah, and the only reason we're funneled down into this is because we'd have to have that meeting in August to be able to pull this thing off. We'd have to note it and all that, right? So they have their position. This all meets the parliamentarian thing that I'm aware of. So can you call for this vote for whether or not she's chairman or not?
All those in favor of Nancy being chairman?
For the purposes of this?
For the purposes of this only?
Yeah.
All those opposed, okay.
All right, so Nancy, call for the vote if you want to.
I vote, I would like to make a motion that we sign this compliance form.
He's already got his motion on
Tonight.
the table.
He's already has his motion on the table.
Okay.
His motion was that we with the stipulation, we move the
Move
books,
and-
that-
Right.
so we can sign these and say that we're in compliance.
So I'll second it.
I already seconded it.
So-
You just have to vote.
You just gotta call for the
So I
vote.
call for the vote on Danny's motion. All in favor? All opposed?
We abstained.
Okay, all abstained.
I abstained.
Okay.
So fast.
All right, so it now reverts back to you being the chairman for the old business part.
Oh, yeah, for the old business.
Do you want to give her the documents to sign now, Stephanie?
I do
while
not
she's-
have any of them with me except for that one, but I can get them to her, because you don't have to sign them in front of a quorum, you just have to sign them.
Sign it with the chair. Is that-
Yep, there.
No, I think it's down one. Board chair.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to reiterate my objection to this process in the sense this was important enough that we should have had the full board here for these discussions and the vote.
Old business?
Okay, old business, discussion of the YA teen collection.
That'll be fun. This is,
During the last discussion on this, it was mentioned that the staff would ask the actual patrons of the library how confusing this would be, because it was stated that if we just do like a YA/teen, that it would just be way too confusing for the people that actually use the library on a day-to-day basis, and I think it would not. But were you able to ask the patrons how they feel about this?
We were not. We've been concentrating on this book issue, so we have not had time. We can still do that if the board's interested in us doing that.
Interested in doing what you're
Having the patrons do a survey.
Get feedback on if it would make more sense for them to have a YA section, a teen section, or how they would.
Might be worth doing.
Yeah, we're happy to do it. We just have been slammed, and we are without a youth services manager right now, so.
I mean, it's really semantic, and
it's not. When you look up young adult, if you look it up on Google, it says 18 to 29.
18 to 29?
It does.
That is an adult. When you can.
Young adult. That's what I just said.
I don't think they mean like young. This does not mean young as in young in age.
That's.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Young adult's not confusing at all then.
You're the one confused, I do believe, because young adult and teen has been the same for how many years since 19?
Since the 40s, it's been a library term for
library
13
term.
to 17. So
Okay, if
this
that's the
library
case,
has
then why
always
is it
had
on the
YA.
website? Why doesn't it say young adult events and programs?
That's what we said the last time. That's what you brought up.
Literature, it's not young adult programming, it's young adult literature as a category of books.
That's why the
But it could be
collection
teen.
is young adult, and teen is the
But it
teen
could be
area,
teen
the
as the
teen
age
program. It's, the books are young adult literature, so they're cataloged as young adult. I do have something to consider. Our book, we're reviewing this book right now, or I'm reviewing this book right now, but our copy is out.
Well, not anymore, because
Oh, right. Well, yeah, anyway. But this book had a teen sticker on it. Would that be helpful if we have a young adult literature collection, which has always been YA, and we sticker everything teen? Is that helpful to what you're?
To have a teen section.
No, to sticker every book so they understand that young adult as a library term and young adult literature, where we have it, 13 to 17, is teen. This library has put teen stickers on those books. Would that be helpful to you and what
So
your objective is to help parents understand
So if I
what
look
this
it up
is?
online on the website in category, it will say teen and not young adult.
It would
anymore?
say young adult,
Say young
but the actual book would say teen when they
But if
went
I'm
over
doing
to
an
that
ebook,
section.
I wouldn't know that, right?
See, you're asking them to,
they say young adult because that's standard industry
It's the
terminology.
type of literature is young adult, so
And I go back to the
Libby
state
would have
library
it as-
again, and it says the young adult is a standard term used by publishers and libraries. It can be very ambiguous and confusing to the general public. If a library has an adult section, it should be located in the adult area of the library. The term young adult is generally understood as individuals 18 to 25.
yeah, and I'm not sure, she didn't provide where she got that information, and I'm not sure, that's where me and the state librarian disagree.
She
And
probably got it from Google.
we're both professional librarians. We can disagree without it being unprofessional, but I disagree, having worked in public libraries for 20 years now, that everybody understands that young adult literature and young adult collections are that. But to help that, I thought that could be, because I communicated to you that we would have to change every spine
But-
label and every item in the catalog, and that would take months.
But you could start at, like, all the new collections coming in, you could start as teen, and then you could take, like, as people check it out, you could change it as that, and then you could change it in the system completely for each book and just do the labeling changing as you can.
You're saying all of that like it's like, all of that takes a massive amount of time and work from staff. You
I
can't
would
just
volunteer to help.
change, it takes time.
Because I just think it's a little confusing, and I've said this before, and this is the whole reason why I brought it up to begin with, is it's teen program, teen event, teen, and every single library in the state, in the county, has it on their websites. It's teen events, teen programs, everybody does.
And they also have YA collections.
Not on the websites.
The majority
Like,
of.
the events are always teen, it advertises
Yeah,
teen, it
teen
never says
events,
young adult, it
But
always
their
says
collections
teen.
are young adult, just like ours. We looked at 40.
But it's kind of confusing for parents when they're filling out the restriction cards. Yeah, I know, I brought up parents again, I'm so sorry. That parents to have I mean, like, if it's teen everywhere on the website, but in the actual library, it's young adult, because that way they can have more mature content in there. It is, because a 13-year-old should not have access to the same reading level or maturity level of a 17-year-old.
In your
Opinion.
Of course, that's right.
But see,
I'm not the expert.
see, then you'd be talking about moving all the books again.
Renaming them teen. Read the whole section, teen.
Would it be helpful for them to understand the collection, for us to put these stickers on? That would be less time in this massive project to do this, and I think it's getting toward your goal of trying to inform the parents to help them make a decision that, yes, this is
But
a
you
young
just
adult
said when you look it
yes,
up
this
on the
is a young
catalog, it
adult
won't say
literature
teen, it'll say
collection.
young
Please
adult.
let me finish. Yes, this is a young adult literature collection, but it is also teen.
So you're gonna have that on the explanation for the.
It is already on the explanation. The age range is on the explanation.
It
For
says
the
13 to
cards.
17 though, it doesn't say teen, it says 13 to 17 for young adult in the collection.
Yes.
So is it gonna say young adult / teen?
No, it will be on this
So it's still
book.
not when you're looking up on the catalog?
It won't. That project is us going in and changing 13,000 records for something that I think we can educate people on in a better way. That's using staff time. I mean, I would assign our new floater position to that, and it would be like we never had that position, because that's all they would be doing is changing those records. But I think there's a better way to educate the parents that this is a young adult collection and it is for teens. I think one of the ways we could do that is stickering the books that wouldn't take as much time.
Stephanie?
And the library application form makes that pretty clear.
Stephanie?
And if you were to change, eliminate the young adult terminology, we'd have to have a new library application form, which again will create chaos, because the term YA terminology
You could
is
start from a
used.
starting point.
Pardon?
You could do it from a starting point.
Stephanie, how long does it
Like-
take for you to go in and change the categorization and go out there and move the book and do all the documenting and everything you gotta do for a book? How long would it take? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes? Just, you know,
Probably between 10 and 20 minutes.
So times
It would take us
13,000.
months to do this. That's why I'm saying there's got to be a better way, and I think if we're trying to educate them, there are other ways that we can do that. I see what you're saying.
And the age
I
range
think-
is in the section, right?
I-
It's posted.
I think we need to table this again until you can talk to the parents and see how confused they truly are, the people that come here every day and use the library. If they find this confusing or if they don't find it confusing.
Yeah, but that age range, parents aren't usually here, are they?
Yeah.
13 to 17?
Yeah.
You have to be over 16, right? To be in the library.
But
13.
usually when they're here, I see parents in that section with their
They're
teens all
browsing
the
with
time.
them. They're browsing with them,
I see parents
they're
mostly.
in the teen programs with
Right.
them. Just because you
What's
can
the
be in
point
the
of board?
library by yourself doesn't mean that a parent's going to allow you to do that, or that you want to do that. Some teenagers don't want to do stuff by themselves.
I see parents in here all the time with their kids, teenagers and little ones, so.
I agree, we should table it and then do a survey.
What's the survey gonna say? Is it gonna say
Did we vote on that before?
13 to 17 is teen? Is that confusing? Or young adult, is the young adult term confusing to you? I mean, what's the survey gonna say?
I could figure that out and look at some options. Maybe we could be specific. Would it be helpful to put teen stickers or, I mean, I think first we have to establish what do you understand as young adult?
Right.
And then what would be helpful for you to better understand what that means? Something along those lines.
Before you ask the librarians to launch into this, what I consider a complete waste of time.
And thank you, Hap, for your opinion, but it's still important whether you think it's a waste of time or not. It's important to
That's
me
his
to bring
opinion.
up.
So we will do the survey. We're going to table it until you do the survey, and
You have to have a motion to table.
I'm moving that we do the survey before we go to any lengths of
Right.
redoing the books. Do I have a second?
I have second.
Henry, all those in favor? Or any more discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. All right, now, on to happy things too, again, the library survey. And this is the final thing.
So the results from the survey were, we were looking at, and we did this survey in the style of, to receive an NPS score. With the online surveys, we received a score of 33.33. And I'll give you a background on this. NPS scores are categorized as follows. 0 to 30 is good, but with room for improvement. 30 to 70 is great, indicating a strong customer base and positive brand perception. 70 to 100 is excellent or even world-class, suggesting exceptional customer loyalty and advocacy. The NPS score for the online surveys was 33.33 in that great category. The NPS score for the in-house surveys was 82.88. That is in the excellent or world-class category. And then the all of the surveys together was 42.69, which is also in that great category, in indicating a strong customer base and positive brand perception.
So, because most of these folks weren't here, we decided we would do a customer survey. Most of the time, like with products or cars or whatever, somebody would do a quality survey. Did it start the first time? You know, have you had a ride quality or whatever? But when you're talking about an organization to just provide services, one of the things you're going to look for is whether or not someone's loyal enough to sacrifice their own reputation to make a recommendation you go to them. So think about your air conditioning guy. Would you tell your friend or neighbor to go to your air conditioner guy? If he's, giving you a 9 or a 10, very, very pleased, you'll tell 3 people. If he just boneheads it every single time, you'll tell, 3 times that many. You'll tell 9 folks that your air conditioner guy's the worst, right? Your mechanic's the worst. But when somebody really pleases you, right, you want to find out, like, what did we do to really please that person, and let's do more of it. And then when you find out the folks that are like giving you a 0, in a 10 scale, they'd give you a 0 to a 6. They're unpleased, unhappy. They're going to poop on you, right? Well, you want that ratio to be positive, because if it's negative, you can't advertise enough to get people to love you. But if you have a real strong ratio, like she talked about, way more people love you, and the people are very loyal to the services, right? And you think about some of the companies, like Apple, for instance, they would probably have a plus 60. Airlines typically have like a negative number. If they have a less than, they can't even generally get to a 10, because all the fees you pay or whatnot. The online, which was kind of cooked because there was a bunch of IP addresses that appeared to indicate somebody doesn't really know how the internet works. But if you look at the stuff where people that are actual customers that came in the door, the scores for the library, right, completely undermine this idea that these guys are all just trying to ruin our kids. And you look at that, it's the satisfaction with the program, it's the satisfaction with the services, it's the satisfaction with the actual service they provide, the facilities, all of these things, they have a better than world-class score. The only place that they're not performing well is they won't let some of you guys come in here and tell them what to do with the books. And because they're trying to support the entire community. They have to look at all of their customer base. They're like an Apple. An Apple might have all the lefty wing nuts in the world, all the righty wing nuts in the world. Apple has to sell to all those folks. Based on the scores there of the people that actually come in and use the library, It's not just world-class, that's the best NPS score I have ever seen. And I work for General Electric. I'm stunned that they scored so well. I've never seen a company do better than 30 or 40 in an NPS score. Guys that do 30 or 40 lead their industry. So let's see what the other guys in the state could do if she's that much better than that, right? Because it pays to be a winner. You know, paint the librarians as a bunch of pornographers that want to ruin our kids. Let's tie up all of their time and resources. She has to do all this work for these book requests or whatever, right? But if you look, it's hundreds of pages of services that they provide the community, and they do it really well. So just think about that, right? This big move, we should fire her because she doesn't listen to these people. She's got to go and everything else. And the services organizations are providing are world class. So ask yourself that question, right? What's more important? All these things that they do for literacy and education in our community, all these things they give kids to do in that 3 to 5 period of time where they come in here, the Pokemon kids upstairs right now, all of that stuff, or these guys want to dictate what you as a parent can let your kid read. Not their kid, right? Not their kid who they have to be supervising when they're here. They want to dictate what your kid can read. Maybe it would be stuff that you would never let your kid read, but that, you know, we had some parents in here one time that said, I would let my kid read that. If that's not the parent's job to decide for their kid, then who the hell's job is it? Who the hell's job is it? It's the parents. So that's what we're talking about. That's why this board is important.
And I want to amplify what Henry said, because it was the people, the in-house responses, the people that we know are using the library. I'm not saying the other people aren't using the library, but we know damn well these people are using the library because it's the in-house version. And as you said, the score is remarkable.
Let me make sure that we know exactly what people's uses are, right? You can look up and see the usage of the folks that make the complaints, right? So would you call those folks, you know, a majority like prodigious library user? Generally speaking, when you've looked at their accounts?
Well, I can't tell you from their accounts, but what I have seen, no.
Generally not prodigious library users worried about what's in the library, right? I don't go to Anchor Pools and buy chemicals, so I'm not going on the internet and raise hell about Anchor Pools selling chemicals, right?
It'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was remarkable, I read all these responses, the number of times it was said that people are coming to the Pickens Library because they don't like the policies of the Greenville Library.
Oh, yes.
Remarkable number of times that came up,
I noticed that too.
just as a point.
Okay, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Really quickly, this is just an anecdote that was kind of out of the blue. I ran into a friend of mine who has been living in Easley because her house was hit by Helene, and she's been using this library instead of the Anderson County Library because they're renting in Easley right now, and she was like, this library system is so amazing. I love coming here with my kids. I love coming to the programs. Your book selection is amazing. Your staff is amazing. And once we move back to Powdersville, we're going to continue coming to the Easley Library because it's just incredible. So I just wanted to share that real comment with you guys that somebody had told me.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?